The new law authorizes all members of a public body to continue participating in meetings remotely. The open meeting law's requirement that a quorum of the body and the chair be physically present at the meeting location remains suspended. For this meeting, the Hopkinton Conservation Commission is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's web meeting calendar and the Conservation Commission agenda identifying how the public may join. Additionally, the meeting may also be broadcast by HCAM through one or many of its channels or platforms. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Supporting materials that have been provided to members of the Commission for this meeting are available on the town's website. This meeting will feature public comment. After Commission members and staff have discussed each project application on the agenda, the chair will open the discussion to public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak are asked to identify their name and address. 3 minutes will be afforded for each public comment. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted via roll call of the members. I will now confirm which commission members are present. Ed Harrow.
I am here.
Matt Moyne.
Present.
Melissa Rakos.
Here.
I am Ted Barker Hook. I'm here. Jim Cirillo.
Here.
Oh, great. Thank you, Jim. I will now confirm staff that are present. Judy Day.
Present.
Anna Rogers.
Present.
And Joe Orzel.
Present.
Before passing the gavel over to Melissa, I'd like to let everybody know that we have 3 hearings that have been, 2 that have been continued. One has been withdrawn. 37 Oakhurst Road has been continued to November 4th. The Hopkinton Trails Committee Chamberlain Street Loop Road has been continued also to November 4th. And the 85 to 89 West Main Street Starbucks Unibank parking lot has been, that application has been withdrawn. That's all I got. Melissa?
Great. Thanks, Ted.
Through the chair, this is Ed with your permission.
Yes, Ed.
The author is Jill Kerr-Conway. Thank you.
All right, we can sleep tonight. Thanks, Ed. All right, we're going to start off with a few work session items. Seeing that we have no documents for review, we do have draft minutes from October 7th. Does anyone have any comments on the minutes or not had enough time to review them? No, hearing none. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of October 7th, 2025?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor, Ed?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
And I am also an aye. Thanks for putting those together, Judy.
That was Anna. Don't want to take the credit.
Anna, thank you.
Very welcome.
Next up we have Town of Hopkinton Charleswood School violation discussion. I think to start off, Judy, do you want to give a summary of what's happened, what you've observed, and why we've brought this forward as a violation discussion?
Sure. Through the chair. So we observed silt beyond the limit of work in buffer zone to a jurisdictional pond just off of the work site for the new Charleswood School last Thursday. We think this was due to heavy rains on Tuesday. So I can pull up some pictures. So silt in the leaves accumulated in buffer zone beyond the erosion controls. And this was sort of the pile up in front of the erosion controls. So we think water was kind of getting channeled to this area and getting through. We went back out yesterday and saw additional silt past the erosion controls in buffer zone in this area, as well as another area just north of that same pond. So it looks like there's 2 release points. I'll pull up those pictures as well. So this was the second location here. So the first one, I don't think there's as much of a risk of silt getting into the pond itself because of the way the grade is. But this location, it's above the pond, just off to the left here. That's where it is. So that's a little bit more of a concern, but nothing has entered resource area as of yet. I know the builder has made a lot of improvements to the site to try to fix this. So I think they are on the call to talk through those. But just to add to the buffer zone releases, we also noted that the concrete pipe carrying the intermittent stream across the entrance of the Charleswood School off Hayden Row, the one that necessitated the amended NOI earlier this year, that had all sorts of conditions about how that pipe was meant to be excavated and replaced, that had been cut through while putting in utilities. And looked to have been kind of just draining into a stormwater swale. So I can pull those pictures up as well. Obviously not how it was meant to be handled. As of now, they did put in a temporary connection to block off the open ends of the pipe. So ideally, no turbid stormwater would be entering and getting downstream, and that water connection would be restored. But I think TBD on how that's going to work. Should be interesting to see with tomorrow's rain if we're still seeing flow downstream.
So this is a trench going from the street, bringing utilities from the street into the site and
Correct.
cut through that drain pipe.
Yep.
And water's overflowing from the excavation into the drain pipe.
Yep, correct.
Downstream to resource area potentially.
We don't think it was getting downstream. So this is the inlet pipe. So this is where water was coming down.
Yep.
That's the water that was collecting. Let's see if I have a shot of the downstream pipe. I don't believe I do, but the water level was below the downstream pipe. So we don't think anything dirty was getting downstream, just that there was a risk of that while it was still open.
Okay. All right. And do you happen to have a plan, Jody or Judy, just to identify where the releases were on the plan?
Yep, I can
For
pull
the
that up.
benefit of everybody on the call.
It might just take me 2 seconds. So this is one of the approved plan sets. This is the pond here, the depression. The release looked like it occurred in the outer buffer zone at the sort of southern edge of the limit of work. And then the other release looked to be sort of on this northern side here.
Okay.
And that pipe is way over here.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So I'm gonna ask who we have representing the contractor or the site developer on the call tonight. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so this is Joe Amaro with Brake Builders, project manager as the general contractor for the project. And I also have Nicholas Brait, the lead superintendent, and I think we may even have Bill Toohey as well, superintendent.
Okay.
So yes, to what Judy just stated. So I can go back first to the 12-inch RCP break. So you're correct with your assessment. The breach occurred during excavation for what is the utility duct bank. That's going to be feeding power to the new building. It was not the intent to perform the construction of the crossing drainage at that time. Unfortunately, during excavation, it was undermined and the pipe was compromised. So at that time, the pipe was removed. As Judy mentioned, no surface water, groundwater, any of the runoff water made its way down the outfall. And Nick could speak to that more. Nicholas Brate went down to where that actually daylights and witnessed no evidence of silt at that end of the site. But today that pipe was repaired, and I did send some photos over to Judy of that repair. So now the plan right now is finish the duct bank, which we would plan on doing that by the end of this week. And sometime later next week or early the following week, we would be starting the work for the permanent repair or the permanent fix for that 12-inch RCP. Speaking to the two areas of the release, those are on portions of the site where we are building up the grade of the roadway. So the permanent roadway you can see above the location. Judy, if you could just show them where the swale is in that area, where that roadway is. I think you're sharing the photo. So that's the roadway construction there, which is a temporary roadway, but in its permanent condition is pretty close to what that is right now. The grade in that area does need to come up about another, I'd say 5 or 6 feet, which we'll be trying by the end of the season to build that up to its permanent condition, at least for the roadway, and then the surrounding perimeter areas as well, so we can get that stabilized. But in the meantime, after the the 5-6 inches of rain that we received on Tuesday, which was in a 24-hour period, we did immediately jump on any of the repairs, the remediation work. We did do handwork outside the limit of work to remove the silt. We did add an additional section or additional row of erosion control silt fencing in front of those areas of breach, along with crushed stone on either side. So we're trying to facilitate, or at least prevent any silt from getting past that first line of defense into what we have as a erosion control. We have a silt fence, compost wattles, and we also have the coir logs in that area as well. So we have additional measures in place now. And again, the work was corrected immediately, so we did have crews on that immediately. So the site contractor has been diligent with checking and inspecting erosion controls before and after rain events per the SWIP. They've been reporting such and making the necessary repairs. They do have the necessary materials on site. So again, it was an unfortunate event. We do have the measures in place per the contract documents, but sometimes you're not going to really see where the water is going to flow until the rain event. And unfortunately, that was the area that took the heaviest amount of impact. But we've seen that now, and we're definitely in a better situation, at least over in that area, for any future events. So Nick or Billy, if you have anything else to add, feel free to speak, but I don't know if we have any photos, or Judy, I think Nick has sent you a few photos of the corrective measures that are in place, if you don't mind showing those to the team here.
So I took this earlier today. This is the area above the pond.
Correct. So yeah, as you can see, they added a row of, they added a row of crushed stone on the front side of the silt fence. They added another layer of defense of crushed stone behind that, repinned the coir logs, confirmed and secured and cleaned up any areas of silt on the compost socks, and made sure that the silt fence in the back was all set as well, so there were no issues. So this is that northern section breach or release point that Judy had mentioned to the north side of that buffer zone.
Okay.
I don't know if you have additional photos of the area near that retaining wall as well. grabbed any of those today, but that area as well, we did some corrective action work down there as well. Yeah, so it's hard to see from this angle, but again, they extended the crushed stone layer down into this depression where that runoff was occurring to catch any silt before it got to the first line of defense, which they added. You can see the straw wattle in the front with some additional silt fence. There's additional stone behind that layer. And then we have the coir logs, the wattles, and the silt fence behind that. So that was the other area of release.
Okay. Yeah, that looks like some substantial effort put in there to reinforce the soils. Is there a need for additional basin on this side to increase the capacity to store the water that's flowing off the site? I know just based on the experience of your neighbors next door there off of Blueberry Lane, we know that this, any water that gets off the site has that fine silt in it. So the crushed stone, I think based on what we've seen, doesn't necessarily filter anything out. Anything that leaves the site is going to have a lot of sediment in it.
Mm-hmm.
And they've had to take some drastic measures over there just to make sure that they're detaining and filtering this stuff out if it does leave the site. So I guess that would be my concern there.
I think a basin in this area wouldn't be the most ideal location just because of what the grade is in the area, because it is a lower depression in the site. So we don't necessarily want to have that water come to this location. We're trying to redirect and divert it to a lower portion of the site where we do have the basins. Okay. So I think that's where constructing that permanent roadway is going to assist with that. It's going to help any of that surface water that was running off for that incomplete road down that slope. It's going to help at least divert that water one way, and then this area is just going to be impacted by just the rainfall. It shouldn't be as much. It wouldn't be the runoff that we're having before.
Okay. And can you remind me, I know you said it, but what is the schedule for getting that roadway up to grade to create that berm?
It's in progress right now. Nick could speak better to it, but I think by, I would say somewhere in the middle to end of November, that is the anticipated time frame to have that roadway at a place where it's close to permanent. We're not going to have it paved. We will be paving some other portions of the site prior to that point in time, but we won't be paving that area. But it would allow us to get the roadway to its correct elevation or to a point where it's ready for pavement. And then it will allow us to stabilize and prepare the perimeter of the site so we could stabilize it more for the winter.
And is there anything preventing you from I guess, accelerating that or putting in a temporary berm? Because mid to end of November is still a ways off, and I think these big storm events are something that's become a regular event.
I wouldn't say, I know, we're out of the dry season. Yeah, I don't think there's anything at this point. And again, we'd have to review that with Dorenzo, our site contractor, and make sure that there's nothing preventing them or in their way with creating berms. But we did speak about that today, some potentials for adding some berms, at least in that corner, like the elbow of that roadway, to at least redirect and slow down the flow. While that's in construction, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's something that I'll open it up to other commission members, but I'd like to see that happen as soon as possible, because obviously we know there's a weak point here, and I think it would be a mistake to not get that berm in as soon as, at least the temporary one, and as soon as possible.
Hi, this is Nicholas Braid. I can speak to that.
Okay.
So I don't think there's any reason why we can't get that done within the next 2 weeks, and then we would have we would stabilize that slope with the hay, the stapled hay, and it's just kind of, at this point it's weather permitting, so to be able to backfill and compact As long as we get some good dry days, which it looks like we have a good week ahead of us, we should be able to take care of that.
Correct.
All right, I'm gonna open up to other members of the commission to get thoughts on this plan here and what happened.
Melissa,
Yes, Ted.
why does it take 2 weeks to build that berm if we have good weather other than the rain coming overnight? Why can't that take 3 days? I don't know how to build that berm. It's an honest question. Why would that take 2 weeks?
We can definitely have the berm built. I'd say middle to of next week, and then get the contractor S&M out there to stabilize the slope. I think it'll be, 100% completed in 2 weeks. But as far as getting the berm, what we want to do is backfill it to subgrade to its final intended condition, and then stabilize it. Which it's about 8 feet of material, and there's also a modular wall, and kind of backfilling up against the building. It all kind of comes into play. But yeah, a week or two. I mean, it's definitely on our radar now, and we'll be pushing for it.
Yeah, well, I don't know how to do the job you guys are doing. I appreciate that it's on your radar. I just don't sense the urgency from you guys that I feel to make sure all of this is buttoned up as soon as absolutely possible. On your radar, and I don't remember exactly the words you just used, but it sounds like, and we will push to get this done. I feel like it ought to be
I
the
think
first thing to get done.
Yeah,
Well, that
I think
maybe fix the hole in the pipe.
yeah, the pipe's fixed, and the problem here we believe is solved. Definitely getting the grade to the right elevation will help, but at this point there's no water other than surface rainwater is going to make its way down there. The grade is already pretty much fixed. I can see if I got some pictures of it.
Through the chair, this is Ed. Have there
Yes,
been
Ed.
complaints from Blueberry Lane or the new subdivision about water coming off of the site?
Not that I know of. I know we can open it up to the public here at this point and see if anyone has any comments on this discussion. I know this particular breach is on the opposite side from the Blueberry neighborhood. All right. So at this point, I agree. Ted makes a good comment. We, as a commission, appreciate, or I appreciate you getting that pipe fixed. Jumping on that was very important. Making some changes over in this corner, but we definitely would like to see, a sense of urgency when it comes to the erosion controls and making sure that things don't happen again. Like I said, there's site in this area right next door, where we know that there's the potential, and we knew even before this project started that the soils make this very difficult site when it comes to erosion controls and managing stormwater, and anything that gets off the site is going to be carrying carrying silt. And it's tricky. Just keeping it on site is really, really important.
Yeah, and I think to that point, and I think coming into the project, we understood that this portion of the site was heavily focused on, especially with the addition of the core logs in addition to the sediment road, the wattles and the fencing. So we definitely have put a focus or been somewhat hyper focused on this area, especially with prior to rain events. I know that we did have the instance here. We will speak with the subcontractor tomorrow because again, after that rain event, the site in this area was somewhat, you couldn't really touch it because to your point, the site, once that material does get wet, it's very difficult to work with. So being out there personally today, it was soft in that area, but they were trying to work and at least do some corrective work up on that road area. But we will speak with them tomorrow to see just in as a temporary basis to get that berm in place just for future preventative measures while they work in that roadway, whatever they can do to get something there in place just for that extra belt and suspenders until that permanent roadways to that subgrade level. So we'll have that discussion with them tomorrow. Put that again. I know we said it's on our radar. We'll hyper focus on that with the contractor. In addition to the other activities they are performing on site, we'll make sure that that's on the forefront of their attention to get that in place as soon as possible.
All right. I think it would make us, or would make me feel more comfortable if when you talk to the contractor tomorrow, if you could report back to Judy with an email or some correspondence on a time frame that the contractor can get that in. We're looking for, in the next week and a half to be
Understood. Not a problem. I'll talk to them in the morning. And Judy, I'll follow up with the email that's been circulating back and forth with that update. And again, I think just as a starting point, it would be a berm, and then we just have to line up the contractor for the sill fencing after that. That's been kind of the tricky effort at some points, but we'll at least get the berm in place, and then we can work with them on getting sill fence in place as well.
Okay. Does anyone else have any other last thoughts, questions, comments?
Through the chair.
Yes, Judy.
We've also got engineers from Vertex on the line in case they have anything to add.
Okay, great. Vertex, do you have anything?
Chris Eberly from the Vertex Company. We know you guys well.
Yep.
We've made this point of emphasis with Brate from the beginning. We know the commission's concerns, and we have repeatedly relayed them from the initial bidding all the way through awarding the contract and all the way through a extensive discussion as we began to look at clearing of the site and the commission's intentions with the CMP. Tyne bond has been started by the for the stormwater side from the planning board side to be their eyes and ears on the site, and has visited the site, including since this challenge occurred. They've also reviewed the construction management plan, which this commission was quite adamant about us including, which Brate provided to us, and we'll continue to push. We've been documenting their performance related to this erosion control work daily until the site is manageable. I think, they have responded to this once the site became overwhelmed. I agree with the commission that we would love to see better preparatory response, and hopefully coming out of this incident, we'll be better prepared to deal with the next storm.
Okay. We appreciate that and the emphasis on our concerns and oversight on the project. Yeah, so let's get that buttoned up, and hopefully that'll take care of things and we're proactive going forward. Appreciate your attention.
Not a problem.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. So it's about 7:30, so let's go ahead and open the new hearing. Ted, if you can read that one for us.
Sure. The Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, October 21st, 2025 at 7 p.m. virtually online to hear all persons interested in a notice of intent filed by Magunco Realty LLC for subsurface soil borings and contaminant mitigation. Location 75 South Street, Assessor's Map R29, Block 7, Lot 0.
All right, thanks, Ted.
You're welcome.
Being that this is a new hearing, do we have the applicant on the line? Or representative?
I am here, Joe Macrodon.
Hey,
All
Joe.
right. Lance Faith here from Magunco.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And Jared from Alien Aldrich.
From Haley and Aldrich. Okay, great. Can you all give us an overview of what you have going on this site?
Sure, I thought I'd kick it off. As mentioned a moment ago, we have two folks on the line, the owner applicant and the LSP from Haley and Aldrich. So I'll kind of kick things off. They can certainly bring you up to speed on the more technical stuff. Just to kind of set the stage, this 75 South Street is a 4-acre parcel at the corner of Haywood and South Streets. The Haywood Street by orientation is the top of the plan, south is the left, and that is 495 to the right. It was the site of the Valpy Fisher Corp. They built a facility here circa 1973, and Lance's group acquired the property in September of 2024. In anticipation of some upgrades that were going to take place both inside the building and out, we asked Ecotech Inc. to review the site for wetlands resource areas. They had identified something here that you see in green on this portion to the east. There's something down at the bottom of this plan in the southeast corner, and then off-site, predominantly off-site in the southwest corner. We're focused on that first one up against Haywood Street. Lance purchased this property with the understanding that there were hazardous waste on the site below grade as a result of the activities of Valpy Fisher. So what has come about is a need for a process to mitigate some of the impacts from that hazardous waste. So what is being proposed and on this plan here are several injection sites where chemicals will be introduced at levels significantly below ground level, 20 to 50 feet below ground level, to begin to break down. And this is where my lack of biochemistry history knowledge comes into play. So Lance and Jared can certainly pick up where I falter. But the idea is to introduce some chemicals that will begin to break down the hazardous materials and then install a handful of monitor wells to see how the process will, the results of the process, see if it will, in fact, do what is necessary or necessitate additional injections. So we are within the existing parking lot that is all paved behind the building up till about 10, 15 feet off of that BVW edge. The work will be in the pavement. Borings will take place. The injection will happen. All the areas, any soil that comes off the pneumatic rig will be placed in a sealable container taken off site for disposal. The areas where the asphalt is disrupted will be repaved with a bituminous, a coal patch. The bags of coal patch will be stored inside the facility, and those areas will be capped after these folks are done to return the paved surface to a bit conk surface. The alternatives to this were evaluated. The debate was undertaken back and forth, and this process was chosen as the most effective and least intrusive. Greater protections to the wetlands and a shorter duration. I'm told other processes that could have taken place may result in multiple trips, multiple injections. So we feel that this is the appropriate way to handle this. It just happens to fall within the buffer zones and your purview.
Yeah, so I'm curious about what's being injected into the ground and how that works with the groundwater and whatnot traveling through the system there.
Trying to find my video, but I can't get it to work. Ah, there we go. I'm gonna move you over to my other screen. So there are a bunch of ways to do this. We are planning to use an abiotic and biotic approach, meaning that we're going to inject iron into the ground with emulsified vegetable oil and lactate to facilitate biological activity. And then we're going to add microbes that are known to degrade the chemicals that are in the ground at a faster pace. So essentially it's iron, a little bit of vegetable oil, and some lactate with some bugs. A lot safer than your typical chemical oxidation where you're injecting permanganate or Fenton's reagent or anything else along those lines. It's a lot safer. The chemicals are inert. The microbes are non-toxic to human health. And there's also the other alternatives that Joe was alluding to was a very large thermal remediation project where we'd have to burn the stuff out of the ground. And that would definitely have a significant impact on the wetland resource. So we chose this method instead.
Okay.
Melissa.
Yes, Jim.
I agree with the in situ approach, by the way. I haven't done that many years ago. What's the chemical composition, by the way? I don't think you said that. It's all organic, I assume.
Yeah, it's volatile organic compounds, primarily trichloroethylene and its breakdown constituents.
Oh. Okay.
And a little bit of perc as well, perchloroethylene that was probably used way long time ago. But that's
so no hydrocarbons. This was a machine shop?
No.
This was a machine shop?
This was a circuit board manufacturing company that used the chemicals for degreasing operations and cleaning of the circuits.
Did you consider vacuum extraction?
So they actually had GZA was out here a long time ago, and they used an abiotic. They used a biotic process where they injected molasses into the ground, and then they also put in a pump and treat system. The problem we have is that the soil types here are pretty dense once you get down at depth. So any vacuum extraction and even the pump and treat system was not effective, such that it was decommissioned a long time ago.
And there's substantial soil and groundwater contamination.
Surprisingly, not too much soil contamination. It's primarily groundwater, which is why we like the source area treatment with injections and then kind of reactive barrier set up down gradient.
How long ago did they go out of business? Or did they move? When were they in production?
So it was Valpay Fisher, and then CTS took over because they bought out Valpay Fisher, and they were operating in there up until a few years ago. But this site has been ongoing for quite some time, and the operations, I would say, over the last 15 years, 20 years have been pretty good from a chemical release perspective and management.
Okay, thanks.
So there's a number of borings I see. How many monitoring wells are there? Is it 5?
5.
5. Okay. I'm gonna know. I know Lucas did a review memo. Joe, do you want to go through that through your review and the comments that we should discuss?
Sure. I did receive the responses from the applicant today, and I think a lot of our comments were addressed.
Okay, good.
A couple of things I just want to note. Just starting with the wetland delineation, I was in agreement with the delineation. I didn't have any issues with the flagging out there. The wetland that was described as a stormwater swale, I guess it would be the south end of the site, or maybe that's, I'm not sure which way the arrow is going here, the north is. But yeah, down the bottom of the page, just off site, that's actually what was the constructed isolated vegetated wetland for the adjacent property at 77 South Street. So I had suggested that also should have a buffer zone, even though it was the work was proposed quite a ways away from that wetland, and that was added to the plan. As just a general observation, when I see an invasive species out of the site, I usually note it just in case there's an opportunity down the road potentially for mitigation. There are some fairly dense areas of invasive vegetation between the site and Route 95, primarily glossy buckthorn and oriental bittersweet. The application did not note that the project was eligible to be treated as a multi project. I thought it might be. I don't know all the details, but maybe the LSP can comment on that, whether or not it does qualify as a limited project for the containment mitigation or remediation of release or third release of hazardous material under the MCP.
I agree with you, Joe. I think it would qualify as a limited project.
Right, but you're not asking for it to be looked at as a limited, you just maybe eligible.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
I mean, I don't know if maybe Lance wants to.
Okay.
I'll just simply ask Joe, did we look at the opportunity for being a limited project?
No, we did not.
Okay. It seems to me that it falls exactly in line with limited project. If that's an update that we could make, I'd be open to that.
Okay. I also had a comment on the filing fee. They did indicate a single filing fee of 110 under category 1F for activities associated with the installation of a monitoring well or other than construction of a access roadway there too. I'm not sure how the commission has looked at that particular, filing fee in the past, if it's lumping all the monitoring wells together or treating them individually. So that was something I had for the commission to discuss. I had noted that there were no permanent removal barriers on the plan. They did add some along the wetland at the bottom of the page. I didn't see any added uh, along the wetlands along the right side of the page. Something the commission might want to discuss. I think some of my other comments were really regarding, what are the chemicals proposed to be injected? What are the chemicals that are being treated? And just if what LSP was on board with the project, then I think all of those have been addressed
Through the discussion tonight.
through the discussion.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
That's helpful. Judy, do you have any thoughts on that limited project discussion? Does it matter? Or how would they change that change things?
Does seem to apply. They would still require filing of a permit application, so I'm not exactly sure the details of how that would change things at this point, but happy to do some more research.
Okay. Yeah, there's not a DEP number for this anyway, so we can't vote on it tonight. All right, so that brings us down to Joe. Thanks for noting the invasives. I think for the scope of this project, we wouldn't require anything there just because, it's a remediation project and they're not really touching vegetation. So I'd just note that they're there, but that would be about it in my opinion. I think it would be helpful, regardless of whether it's a limited project or continue down the path of notice of intent, if we could just get a narrative on some of the things that were discussed tonight as far as the chemicals go in the process. I think that would be helpful just to put that in the file. It would be great if we could get, whenever we look at these projects, when we're touching an old site, if we can get PIBs up along wetlands, it would be great. I don't know along that line, if you bring the page down, Judy, where the work's being done, if there's some opportunity to put a few medallions along the curb, if you all would be amenable to that.
Seems like an easy thing. Is that something you're
Yeah.
willing to do, Lance?
Yeah, it seems perfectly reasonable. Yeah.
Okay. And then the last thing, or at least that I wrote down, was for the fee, the filing fee on the wells. I don't know that I can't think of a project where we've talked about this recently or had a situation with multiple monitoring wells.
There is a substantial fee under the bylaw that was paid by the applicant.
There was, okay.
Yeah,
That was
$8,000.
largely consultant fee. So I think maybe what Joe's referring to is state filing fee under the category that was chosen. And any unused consultant fee will get returned.
I guess my point is that there is money for supervision. This won't fly under the radar.
Mm-hmm. So it's looking at, with 5 wells, 550 versus 110. Does anyone on the commission have thoughts on that? I'm inclined to say, it reads like it should be each monitoring well.
Melissa, I think I agree, but I don't have that wording in front of me. I looked at it earlier. It looks like you might be looking at the wording when you say it looks like it reads.
Yeah, I'm looking at Joe. Joe quoted it, activities associated with installation of a monitoring well other than construction of an access road thereto. A single fee of $110 for activities associated with installation of a monitoring well.
And that's the key, a monitoring well, right? Yeah, I'm inclined to say it's a fee per well.
Yeah. Okay. I think we should go with that, Judy. Okay. Anyone from the public have any questions, comments on this application? No.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ted.
As a person who has a real hot button about invasive, I'm disappointed that that we're apparently going to ignore these. That's all.
Well, we don't have to. That was my opinion. And we're welcome to discuss that further. That was just my rationale for this particular project. But if you have another one, Ed, I'm certainly open to hearing it and talking about it further.
The only good invasive is the dead invasive. I'm sorry, that's the. We have open space that spent a significant amount of money dealing with invasives on our property, on one property. And it's all over town. I don't care what invasive you're talking about. And to give tolerance to their presence, I think is a big mistake. That's all. I've spoken my piece.
Ted, Ed, or Jim, or Ted, Matt, or Jim, do you have any thoughts on this?
No, I don't have anything to add.
I don't know. I'm torn. I'm with Ed, but I'm also thinking on this type of project, maybe we relent, but I don't know. I don't think I'm helpful on this discussion. I'm sorry.
Through the chair.
Yes, Judy.
I'm happy to share the fact sheets that we give everybody for specific invasives with the applicant. So if you decide whether or not to require them, I can still share those as informational material.
Okay, that would be certainly helpful.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? So I guess if you all can, I guess, consider what you want to do as far as limited project, or not, or continue with the notice of intent while we wait for that DEP number to come in, and we can continue out to the next hearing, which is November 4th.
Yeah.
Or the one after that is November 25th.
I think we prefer the 4th. I don't feel like there's a big gap between the commission's thoughts and ours. So I think we can wrap this up pretty quickly.
Yeah, we'd
Okay.
like to get the cleanup underway.
Okay. Can I get a motion to continue this out to November 4th?
I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Ed,
Aye.
Ted,
That is not.
Matt,
Aye.
and Jim,
All right.
and I'm also an aye. All right, thank you all.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have REC Hopkinton, 0 Lumber Street. Continuation of a notice of intent.
Through the
Sorry,
chair.
Melissa. I think you skipped Downey Street.
What'd I do? Yes, I did. Sorry about that. 38 Downey Street, notice of intent, continuation for a dock. Judy, can you update us on where this one's at?
Sure. So updates we've gotten since the last hearing, we have a narrative describing the design and method of installation of the dock. The applicant has submitted an updated Form 3 using the most up-to-date form version. Some clarification around why the BBW data forms were not able to be provided, and what exactly the level of excavation is associated with the restoration work that they're doing. I believe the only outstanding comment was one of Joe's, that the buffer zone to bank be corrected, as I think it was originally drawn from a BBW boundary rather than the top of bank. And I don't think we've gotten updated plans since that comment was made.
Okay. So that's really the only, Joe, do you concur on that one?
I concur.
You concur. So that's the only outstanding item on this. Do we have anyone representing the applicant tonight on the line?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Matt Morrow here, representing the applicant who is also here.
Okay.
So I'm not clear on that comment about the buffer zone and bank. Can we go into that really quick?
Yeah.
Judy?
Joe or Judy, did you want to?
Yeah, I think it was originally one of Joe's, but I think what he was saying was the buffer zone to bank. So this blue line was drawn off of this delineation line versus the top of bank line. So it would be slightly different position if it was drawn from top of bank, I believe is what you were saying, Joe.
Correct. Yeah, if you see how close the lines are between the what's shown as the bank and the BBW buffers, and there's greater distance, between the bank and the.
Well, I mean, my understanding was it was drawn off of top of bank, which was what the original BVW delineation was, but I'll address that with the engineer. That's a minor change. I can have that made. To continue where we left off we did a plan revision to push some of the replication area out closer to the rock. We still have 560 square feet of, well, I call it replication. It's actually more like restoration. If the commission recalls, we had the certificate of compliance snafu. If I could share my screen for just a minute.
Sure, that's fine with me, Judy.
Give you permission. All right, should be good.
Okay, just give me one more. I've never ever been a rapid fire on this screen share stuff, so. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
So this is a picture of the shoreline in 2022. You can see the pre-existing dock there, which we're looking to just simply put back in the same location. This is the current shoreline as it exists today. So what we're looking to simply do is add a herbaceous and more shrub layer on this side here, and an area that would come up from the rock area right here, come up, go over, and then up this way. So we would obviously keep the overstory. We would add more shrubs here and add a herbaceous wet mix here. That can be done by just taking the sod out, turning over the topsoil in here, adding the mix. You've got drains coming from the house that basically feed in over here, which would feed this area. And this area is already getting overland water flow. So there's plenty of water source to continue to keep this wetland fed. It would add a dimension of filtration of whatever's coming off the side here, including what's coming off the drain, coming in here, and add more of a vegetative buffer, as well as put the dock back into basically where it was prior. That's really it.
Yep, no, that makes sense. That's right along the line. That's what we're looking for. So that sounds great to me. So again, with this one, we're not confirming the wetland line. That would be written in the
Well, no, but on a certificate of compliance, the success of the replication would have to be evaluated. That actually would wind up creating a new wetland line for any future filings, which we would put in an as-built.
Okay. Yeah, I meant the existing.
No, I got you.
Yep. Okay.
And it sounds like you just went through what I went through with your voice. You have a cold too?
Something like that, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was bad. I had it. It was bad.
So that, yes, Joe.
Yeah, so that would, I think, not confirming would apply to the wetland line, but not to the bank line. I think you could confirm the bank line is the
Confirm the bank, not the wetland.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean that's easy enough to do.
Okay.
and also I would say you could confirm the floodplain line also, which is
Yes.
dropped
Okay.
off the new flood.
Well, the new floodplain line that you pointed out, Joe, is drawn in red. On
It
the
is,
bottom.
yes, correct, yep.
So we put that on the plan based on what you had said. So
Okay. Does anyone on the commission have any thoughts, questions, comments on this? The thought in my head right now is we could probably vote on this contingent on just getting the updated plan with the buffer line corrected. I think I would be okay with that, but I'm open to hear from others.
I'll have that done in a day, and obviously I wouldn't expect an order to be issued until Judy receives the corrected document. So,
Melissa, I'm on board with you the way this project is together. So thank you to the well.
appreciate it.
So do I.
All right, with that being said, can I get a motion to issue the COC and with the condition, or no,
The OC.
OC with the notation that we're not confirming the wetland land, we are confirming the floodplain and bank. And signatures by Judy or Anna.
I'll make that motion.
Jim, you want a second?
Sure. I'll second or first.
Okay.
I guess but we'll keep it that way.
All right, all in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
Matt,
Aye.
and Jim.
All right.
All right. All set then.
Thank you all very much, ladies and gentlemen. You all have a good night. Judy, I'll be in touch about the revised plans. I'll make sure you get them right away.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, now we can go to REC Hopkinton. Notice of intent continuation. I believe we probably have someone on the call here representing this project.
Hi, Sophie Esdale with Goddard Consulting. I'm representing Rec Hopkinton for Lumber Street Lot 4. So we received a second peer review letter from Lucas Environmental on October 2nd. It detailed a majority, if not all, comments have been addressed. There were a few open comments. One was 3B, which mentioned the FEMA flood map reference. That has now been updated to July 18th, 2025. The site locus is still not within a jurisdictional FEMA flood zone at this point. A second comment from Lucas Environmental is comment 3D. It discussed the removal of trees on site and whether the mitigation was sufficient. At this point, I'd be happy to discuss this further with the commission. As a little recap for how many trees we're proposing to remove, we're proposing to remove 57 trees in total, with 44 trees in the buffer zone. We do have 38 plantings proposed, which includes red maple, white spruce, serviceberry, and creeping juniper. We've also submitted an invasive species management plan to remove the Japanese knotweed, multiflora rose, the glossy buckthorn, and oriental bittersweet on site. So at this point, I'd be happy to discuss mitigation further with the commission or any outstanding comments from Joe for Lucas.
Okay, thank you. Joe, did you have any comments, any outstanding comments? We should
pretty much everything was addressed. Just a couple of things to note. I did note that the cumulative impacts figure that was included in the submittal indicated the amount of buffer zone impact, percentage buffer zone impact on this property, but it didn't include the total for all the abutting REC Hopkinton properties, which works out to approximately 18% based on the numbers that they submitted. That was just for the Conservation Commission's knowledge of the total buffer zone disturbance on the associated properties.
Okay.
And I think the other comments that I was going to mention were addressed just now, and that's probably the only item that I have to mention.
Okay. And so all of the PAR comments were addressed as well. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right.
Melissa, the question.
Yes, Jim.
Joe, you said cumulative impact is 18%. That's not really cumulative, right? That's just this parcel, this project?
No, they provided a figure of all the this property, this parcel and the abutting parcels under the same ownership, and the cumulative impacts on all those properties. But in that table, they noted the buffer zone impact on this property as a percentage of the buffer zone on all the properties, but they didn't give the figure for the total buffer zone impact on all the properties combined, which was 18%.
So all of the, okay, thank you, Judy. This is on all of the other development, or this is on all your development plus this one?
So these percent of total buffer zone altered by lot 4 retail office building. So lot 4 retail office building is the site we're talking about today, correct?
Correct.
Correct. Okay.
So, where'd that go? Is this 3,788,000 and change square feet of disturbance? No, that's in the, okay. No, is that true?
That's
What
for
is
all of
this in
the
buffer zone?
sites. Yeah, so this is all of the properties, and this is just this project, I believe.
Not impacts, but cumulative buffer zone. Right? What are the cumulative impacts for all of this?
Yes, this is a little confusing, this box.
Well, the way I read that is they're showing the cumulative buffer zones on all the properties.
Yeah.
And then showing the buffer zone impact on this property as a percentage of the buffer zones on all the properties.
Okay, so wouldn't we like to know what the impacts of the other properties are? Well,
If you look at the information that's on the figure, I think in some of the other text boxes, it looks like the total buffer zone impact on include all the properties is about 18%.
all right, I think I see that in the upper box. Okay, thanks.
Okay. So I guess for consistency on this particular graphic, the other projects are showing buffer zone alteration in square feet.
We do have those for this so this is the proposed work here. Can zoom in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the other table is a summary of everything.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, Melissa, to you.
Yes.
So there's total impact, all of it, including lot 4, is 22,217 square feet. So roughly, I'll say almost a half an acre of the 3.5 acres. The 3.5 acres at the bottom is just lot 4. All right, I got it.
Yeah.
I had to work that out.
It's heavy math. Okay.
I did use some calculus.
You did calculus. Thanks, Jim. All right. So then the other question, if we're okay with the planting plan, which I looked at, I think I am. I mean, it's for the area.
Through the chair, I just want to thank Joe and Jim for bringing that up. That was my question for this project.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and I think I didn't have issues with this planting plan. Does anyone have any last questions, comments, thoughts? Anyone from the public or the commission? No. All right, let's go ahead and vote on this one. Can I get a motion to approve the notice of intent?
I guess
I'll make the motion and take a second.
I will second Jim's motion.
In favor, Ed?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Can we add staff signatures, please?
Yes. And amend that motion to include signatures by Anna or Judy. All in favor, Ed?
I'm still thinking.
All right, we'll come back to you. Ted?
Ted is
Ted's an aye. Matt?
Aye.
Jim?
All right.
I am also an aye.
And with regret, I guess I will follow suit.
All right. Ed is an aye. So you guys are all set.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, next up, we have Wall Street Development, 12 North Mill Street. Notice of intent continuation. Right. Let's see where we're at with this one. It's been a little while since we've talked about 12 North Mill.
You missed me.
Miss you. I guess,
So-
Mr. Petrozzi, do you want to?
Let me just recap where we left off and where we are today.
Okay.
So, we had been waiting to schedule a on-site review by Lucas Engineering, which was delayed a little bit, but I think we finally took care of that a few weeks ago, at the end of September, I think. And then at the last meeting, we didn't have a report, so we continued the meeting. But essentially, since our site meeting, I think I informed the commission that we recently received a variance from the zoning board for the required front yard setback from North Mill Street from 60 feet to 30 feet. So that throws out several alternatives that I think would be maybe a better consideration for the commission. And we have the ability to build this home in the front portion of the lot without crossing the wetlands, but it requires some creativity, let's say, with regard to the front portion of the lot. I submitted a few preliminary alternative plans. I don't know if you can get those up, Judy, or not, but I'd like to just go through them quickly. So alternative one accommodates the house, septic system, and the well with slight filling of, I think it's less than 1,000 square feet of BVW to meet the distance requirements or the set-off requirements between a well and a septic system and a septic system and a BVW. So if you see highlighted in purple, those are the areas where we were proposing to do some filling and meet the setback requirements for all the other jurisdictions relative to Title V and locating of a public-private drinking well on the site. Now, of course, we still are within the buffer zones of the wetland regulations, but as we all try to do, is we try to avoid, minimize, or mitigate impacts. This is one alternative that I think deserves some consideration. The second alternative, if you can shoot up a little bit. Second alternative is similar, but it feels a little bit slightly more BVW closer to North Mill Street. And again, allows for the house to be built on the front portion of the lot without crossing the wetlands. And I should say that in order to locate the well in that area, by the way, I just want to point out that if you see a little bluish line there, that was the original line BVW that we had flagged out in the fields. And subsequently, or apparently, you know, during the ANRAD process, nobody really challenged the revisions made by Lucas Engineering in the field. But as you can see, these that line got scrunched down a bit. That is making this a little bit more difficult than it should be. But in order for us, we still would need, under either one of these proposals, 1 or 2, we would still need a waiver from the Board of Health for locating the well within, I believe it's 50 feet of a BVW. And I should say that, excuse me?
I apologize. I don't mean to interrupt. Melissa, through you, when you say BVW, you're really talking about the green line, which is the edge of the wetlands.
Correct.
The entire development, the entire build is in the BVW.
No.
Boarding veg and wetland.
No, we're not filling. There's no.
I didn't say filling.
Excuse me. The only thing that's in the BVW is the purple. The rest of it is upland. So where you see the house located.
What is the green line? What does the green line cut out?
The green line is the edge of the BVW as determined under the ORAD. So that's what we're working with right now, because that was what was issued by the commission under the ORAD. So the green line is the BVW. What's in purple is a proposed filling of BVW that would allow us to comply with the required setback distances for a septic system and a well, and not cross wetlands.
I'm sorry, I got to ask again. Why is the green line labeled edge of wetland?
Because that is the edge of wetland.
Well, then that's not the edge of the bordering vegetated wetland, nor what is regulated by our bylaw.
I don't understand.
Regulated by our bylaw is up to 100 feet. It says edge of wetland. I'll add to that.
Yeah, well, we're talking about two different things. So you're talking about buffer zone. I'm talking about actual BVW edge.
You keep saying BVW.
Well, that's a bordering vegetated wetland. That's what that is.
Yeah, so the green line is our wetland line, and then the buffer zone comes off that, but you can't see the buffer zone.
It's off the property, baby.
Because it's off the because the whole thing is in the 50.
Yeah, it's
okay.
in the 50.
Yeah.
Oh, what's all that stuff?
Yeah.
Sorry, can I just cut in? Someone's drawing on the screen. I don't know how to turn it off.
Not me.
But if folks could
very interesting though.
Draw on the screen. Yeah, I'll try to.
Oh, yeah, I just noticed that.
Try to change the settings.
Interesting. So, these are the two least intrusive alternatives for this particular lot. Now, if you go to the next alternative 3, we can build the house on the front portion of the lot and put the septic system in the back.
Through the chair, this is Ed. Can I get one question in before we get to the third one? On 1 and 2, there's some filling shown, which I don't understand the purpose of it. Could you explain why 1 and 2 both require some filling?
Yes. So under Title V regulations, it's required that the septic system, the leaching field, be 50 feet away from any edge of wetlands. So by filling those areas on 1 and 2 allows us to get the 50 feet from the edge of wetlands. You follow that?
Thank you.
Well, maybe another question, Melissa. Where's the reserve system, the reserve leach field?
Everything is there, and everything is that septic system that you see on 1 and 2 is in compliance with Title V regulations, for even including a reserve system, reserve trenches.
I don't recall. Do you show the reserve on that 1 and 2 options?
Yeah, it's kind of narrow, but yeah, it's on there. And one thing I should point out that, we've, instead of a 4-bedroom house, we're actually, because of the location, we're restricted to a 3-bedroom septic system with the provisions that we're requiring. So now if we go to like I said, the next alternative, everything else requires crossing the wetland. So number 3, we build the house in the front, we build the septic system in the back, we comply with the regulations. Same thing here on 4, we build the house and the septic in the back, and we comply with the regulations. The biggest thing here, obviously, is we're crossing the wetlands. It's more impact. We have more hoops to jump through, as you've seen through Lucas's review, that there are more resource areas in play. So tonight, I'm just simply asking before we go any further into the, which is to come to some sort of consensus that the commission will work with us to not have to cross the wetlands and do something in the front portion of the lot. And what I will say is that under those circumstances, we will put some sort of a conservation restriction, because obviously we don't want to have to cross the wetlands to create replication. We would put some sort of a conservation restriction on the back part of the property so that it never gets developed. And I don't know if the commission is aware, but you might be aware that in the back of this property is already restricted with a conservation easement, or I don't know what you call it, a restriction or an easement. It already has been dedicated in that fashion. So this would just end up being a continuation of that in lieu of replication. So I throw those alternatives out to you. It's strictly, the commission's discretion on how you want to handle this, but I think it's worth the conversation given these circumstances. And also, since the Board of Appeals did grant us the 30-foot variance, it would be incumbent upon us to explore all of the possibilities to allow us to make use of that variance. So that's where we stand at this point. Joe and I had a very nice site walk. The property is beautiful. So this is our proposal tonight.
Melissa, may I say something? Can you hear me?
Yes, Jim. Sorry,
Okay.
I was finding the
So I recall, I think correctly, that at our last meeting, we said that we don't want to look at 3 alternatives. We want you to come to us with the alternative that you propose. Am I misremembering? As someone?
Yeah, I think just to kind of go over a couple things before we get too deep in discussion. The commission needs to be presented with the application that we're considering, which is, one plan. But we also ask for, because the waiver needs to be granted, in this case, we ask for alternatives analysis.
Yeah, good point.
So this is the alternatives analysis. So we're not
Okay.
picking one of these, but we are, we do need an alternatives analysis in order to see if there's a better option than what is being presented, or to show that other options were looked at. And the one that is eventually presented to us is the best or the least invasive, the best for the resource area.
Thank you. I said correctly.
Yeah, I think that hopefully helps. A couple things before I turn it to Joe, because I know Joe had a bunch of comments. I noticed when I was looking at this that a couple of the plans have the potential vernal pool identified on it. Some of them don't. I think that's really important to get that squared away. That on this particular plan, the isolated wetlands shown in the top right corner there. I believe in the original ANRAD was identified as a potential vernal pool. So I think we need to show that on the plans, because that definitely affects the feasibility of whether or not, these alternatives are viable. I think if you have the potential vernal pool on here, or it's determined to be a vernal pool, then that throws 125 feet right in the middle of, where this building is being proposed. So while it's looked at as an alternative, I don't think something that we'd have to factor that in.
Madam
Do you agree?
Chairman?
Yep.
Yeah, well, I'm not, again, we're looking for the least impacted alternative. And as I mentioned, we went to the zoning board in pursuit of variance. They were, they granted the variance, which I thought was beneficial to potentially developing this property. And so I understand all of the comments that have been made previously. I would like to get the commission's, I would assume that the commission would prefer not to have to cross the wetland. So whatever alternative accomplishes that, I would think that would be preferential than these alternatives 3 and 4 showed. And I'm sure that there are other alternatives too, depending on where you put the septic, where you put the building, where you put the well, in compliance with the regulatory site separation setbacks. So if I'm hearing you correctly, if we throw this isolated wetland or make it a vernal pool with 125 foot buffer. By the way, you should really review your bylaw, because it doesn't give you the discretion over 125 feet. It's only 100. But you should really, if we want to work together on this, I would like to think that we could work on alternative 1 or 2. It's less than 1,000 square feet of impact of BVW. Doesn't cross the wetlands. And it provides the rest of the property to be held in some sort of conservation type of restriction or deed restriction of some sort. So, certainly we can go through all of these, jump through all these hoops and try to accommodate, but your regulations regarding waivers clearly states that this is an alternatives analysis where the commission must decide which alternative is preferential given the impacts of each alternative. I'm simply suggesting that alternative 1 or 2 would be the way to go.
So I understand, and we do want to work with anyone who comes in front of us with the proposal. But what I'm trying to say is that we cannot evaluate something that has incorrect base plan information on it. So the base plan information, which includes the potential vernal pool, needs to be shown correctly on the alternatives and the plans that are put in front of us, or else we cannot evaluate them. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, is that?
I
the
am
only-
also reading our wetland regulations that say that our vernal pool and vernal pool habitat buffer zone is 125 feet.
I know, but your regulations, your regulations come from your bylaw, and I think you should read your bylaw a little bit closer.
Okay.
Just a suggestion.
Let's yeah. 125 feet.
It's a, go to the go to the jurisdiction.
Either way,
Okay.
the plan does not have.
Is that the only thing? Is that the only thing that you're missing?
On the plan?
Yeah.
I don't know. We can turn to Joe's comments in a moment. But that being said, yeah, Joe, why don't we hit the high points of your comment letter?
Sure. So I had, one of the first requests was that the applicant provide an alternatives analysis, which he has done with these alternatives. I should point out that the plans that I was looking at the time I did my review were alternatives 3 and 4. I had not seen, I had not reviewed alternatives 1 or 2, which clearly have less wetland impact and do not cross the BVW and the stream as alternatives 3 and 4 do. So a lot of my comments had to do with issues with the stream crossing or the BVW crossing, primarily stream crossing. And if the applicant is pursuing either alternative 1 or 2, those comments would not apply. Also, just a brief comment on the during the ANRAD review process of the wetlands. The wetland changes to delineation were agreed upon in the field by myself and representatives of Goddard Consulting. It wasn't me telling them something had to go here or there. It was agreed upon in the field. Just to clarify that point. There are a few things that would still be required with regardless of which alternative was moved forward. Regarding replication guidelines, although apparently based on discussion, there would be no replication with alternatives 1 or 2. It would be proposed as a conservation easement, so that might go away. Number and size of trees to be cut within the buffer zone, no disturb zone, no build zone. Let's see. General comment on discrepancies in the construction sequence that was previously provided. Again, we would need a construction sequence for any of the alternatives that goes forward. The vernal pool buffer lines, as was already noted, will need to be shown on all the plans. Limited project issue would go away if there was no crossing. Sorry for the piecemeal effort here. I'm just looking at the ones that might apply if there was no crossing.
No, that's fine.
Site plan should note that the wetland boundaries were confirmed by the ORAD, as typically, and also Mass DEP comments need to be addressed. And again, some of those have to do with the crossing, which may go away. But I think that's it. Instead of my comments, and again, I didn't have access to alternatives, one or two, at the time of my review. So the comments are not necessarily specific to those two alternatives.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Thanks, Joe. All right. So,
Through the chair.
yes, Matt.
I apologize if I missed it, but do we have a breakdown of buffer zone or resource area impacts for each of the alternatives?
I don't think we've gotten that point yet, Matt, because we pull these alternatives together thinking that if we don't have to cross the wetlands, we're doing quite a bit, accomplishing quite a bit, because that's clearly what most of the impact is involved with. So if the commission wants to determine, I mean, obviously the whole front portion of the lot is within the 100-foot buffer zone, and a lot of it's in the 50-foot buffer zone. So there's nothing that we can do to avoid that. I can just calculate we can have the whole area calculated as being in the buffer zone. The whole front portion of the lot is in the buffer zone.
Yeah, I think through the chair, I think it'll be helpful for us as a commission to understand the breakdown of resource area impacts to no disturbance zones, no build zones, and just the buffer zone beyond that. Because it sounds to me like what you're trying to accomplish here is to obtain a waiver for the project. And part of our responsibility under the regulations is to evaluate each of those alternatives and their impacts and come to a conclusion as to whether or not there is a practical alternative or which alternative would be the least impactful to the resources we're charged to protect. So that's going to be critical information from my perspective.
I agree.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
How about a sidewalk?
I'll go for that.
We could certainly set that up.
As long as it's not raining.
We go rain or shine.
No, that's the best time to go, is in the rain.
Oh. I'm perfectly, I think a site walk might be helpful to the commission. Joe and I had a nice site walk while we were out there. So whatever's at the commission's discretion there, I'm happy to attend.
We can set that up. Usually we do them on like a Saturday morning.
Sure.
We could do I think we could do as early as this Saturday or look out a couple weeks if people need time, but I would probably want to do it this Saturday or next Saturday.
Through the chair.
Yes, Judy.
I think if we have 4 or more people attending, we just need to advertise it 2 days in advance. So we'll need a head count. If we're doing it this Saturday, we'd need to post pretty soon.
Excuse me. I know the public meeting, as long as nothing is discussed at the site walk, I don't think it requires to be posted. Just my view based on other situations. As long as we don't discuss anything relative to the permit and we're just viewing the site. But I'm all in favor of a posting if you want to have it this Saturday.
Jim and Ed, do you have, or I get anyone on the commission that wants to attend?
I'm available Saturday, this or next.
Through the chair, this is Ed. I just checked and I'm available either.
Matt?
Don't schedule around me. It's going to be tough with the kids, so I will attend if I can.
All right.
And Melissa, I'm pretty sure I'm booked for 4 consecutive Saturdays right now, starting this weekend.
Okay. So why don't we go ahead and put it on for this Saturday? And I'm thinking we won't have more than 3 of us anyway.
I'm thinking.
Time?
Yeah.
You want to do 9 a.m.? How late do you guys sleep in? I'm up.
We
Oh,
can do it at 3 a.m.
I sleep in late, but you know, to go on a site walk with you, Melissa, I'd go early.
Oh,
9
actually,
o'clock's my way.
9 o'clock.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Works for me.
set that up, Judy, if you don't mind.
Yep, I
So
can send out an email.
And for parking, North Mill is kind of a narrow street, but they are building a house that you can pull in and park right across the street from it. So I kind of would suggest that.
Okay. All right, aside from a site walk, I think I just want to review the things that we're looking for to move this forward. So, as Matt said, I think I agree, resource area impacts are important. I think, you put together the alternatives analysis. Well, I guess so resource area impacts, making sure that the base plan has the correct delineation, is using the correct delineation for each of the alternatives and the proposed or chosen alternative. I do think that you should provide the commission with what your selected alternative is.
I guess we
what you're putting forward as your proposed plan, and obviously we'll talk about all the alternatives, but
okay.
If there's an alternative that is more impactful than the one that you want to present and it doesn't make sense to include it because of that, then
right.
It's your choice on what alternatives you want to include in the alternatives analysis. Am I missing anything else, Joe, from your comments that we definitely need to see? I guess just take a look at Joe's letter, knowing he didn't have the 2 in the front, but you can obviously apply his
I think,
comments.
I think, Madam Chairman, that, if we're not crossing the wetland, as Joe mentioned, a lot of the issues go away regarding stream crossings and resource area impacts are diminished quite a bit. So I think we should try to focus on the first 2 alternatives that don't involve any of the, stream crossings and so on. So, and then if we can't get by that, then I don't know where we go from there. And unfortunately, I didn't have, as Joe mentioned, I didn't have these alternatives in hand when we did our site walk, and I just recently got them from our engineer just recently. So, anyways, we can. The house in the back is staked out. The center line of the driveway is staked out, so we'll be able to find our way. And it's really not a lot left out there to distinguish from when we get there.
Through the chair.
Yes, Joe.
Yeah, if the applicant could respond to our comments, and just those that no longer apply, just note that they no longer apply, and that those that still apply to respond to those.
Okay, I can do that.
That'd be great.
I do want to open the floor up. Does anyone on the commission have any additional questions, comments, or feedback at this point? Okay, I'm going to open it up to the audience and see if anyone has any questions, comments, considerations. Yes, Mr. Holmgren, I see your hand up.
There we go.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd just like to say that as far as parking is concerned, you can park on Pine Tree Lane. I know there's plenty of parking on Pine Tree Lane there. Second, will the public be allowed to participate in this walkdown?
Judy, I think we do generally allow public to come on the walk.
Through the chair.
Yes, Anna.
So in the past, it's up to the applicant, and we have had some applicants allow and some applicants that have not allowed access to private property. So only the commission is allowed by right under the application.
Okay. So, Mr. Petrosi, that would be
Cashwood, yeah.
Bruce, are you going to bring any snacks?
27, that Cashwood, no.
Well, I can bring snacks if you want.
Halloween Cashwood.
Besides, if you say no, I can just watch from the street.
Well, yeah. Bruce seems like a nice enough guy. He can come.
Thank you. I did want to point out that we had submitted a letter, the abutters had, to the commissioners on September 12th. If we're only looking at the front as a potential site for a house, and a lot of our comments go away. So I would like to see very much, I can see the stakes out there now, but it's not clear to me exactly what the details are. So I'd be looking forward to seeing that. Thank you. That's all I have.
okay. Thank you. Anyone else? No, I don't see anybody. Okay. Then with that, I think we'll go ahead and I'll ask if I can get a motion to continue, and our next hearing is November 4th. Mr. Petrosi, do you want to continue to the 4th?
Yeah, that's fine with me. And yeah, that's fine with me.
Through the chair.
Yes, Anna.
Lou, clarification, we are continuing both hearings. We still have both the soil testing application access and the single family house access still active.
Yeah, why not? Just continue both of them.
Thank you.
I have to.
We could close out, I mean,
Yeah, we can close that out. I mean,
the soil testing could be closed out at any, or it could be withdrawn at any time, I believe.
yeah. Well, let's get through the next couple of meetings and we'll see.
All right, can I get a motion to continue both the single family house and the soil testing access notice of intent applications to November 4th?
So moved.
Second, this is Ed.
All right, all in favor, Ed?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye.
Great, thank you. And we'll see you Saturday at 9 o'clock.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, those blue marks won't go away.
Yeah, I'm just gonna reset the screen share. There we go.
All right. Next up, we have 47 Oakhurst Road. Notice of intent continuation.
Hey everyone, this is Andrew Tebow, now the wetland scientist with Goddard Consulting. Judy, do you mind if I share my screen? I have a colored iteration of the plan that I'm happy to share and run through if that's easiest for the commission.
That's fine with me, Judy.
Thank you. It looks like I just need permission.
Yeah, you should be good to go. Nervous of my permissions now.
I won't draw unless you need me to. Does it show up okay for you guys?
Yeah, that's fine.
Perfect. So I'll start off with a quick recap as it's been a bit over a month now since the last meeting, and then I will explain what's changed then. So we were last with the commission at your September 9th hearing. At that time, we had presented and walked through what was our third iteration of responses to the peer review ongoing with Lucas, and we're addressing some of the commission's comments and questions. So most importantly, what came out of that previous meeting was, prior to that, we had submitted our lengthy waiver request letter. It was discussed with the commission prior to that we submit a longer narrative addressing the commission's bylaw, the 25-foot and 50-foot zones, how the project pertains to it. And so we had walked through the previous history of the lot being maintained as primarily lawn and landscaping up to the edge of the lake with no stormwater management, and how the pre-project characteristics of the site were not necessarily fulfilling a lot of the intents of the bylaw at the time. And so that was submitted in project support. And then accompanied by that, there was also a slight reduction in the site plans. But a meeting previous to that, we had discussed that it's typically the commission's precedent that when there are existing encroachments into the 50, that we don't expand closer to the resource area than existing conditions, but only laterally. And so originally, this house was sized a couple feet larger. So we had noticed that, a bit hard to see because of the colored plan, but the black line that we see here that's sort of shaded a little bit, that's the existing conditions of what's out there now. So we had found out that the deck that was off the rear of the house was actually a concrete foundation underneath. And so we had identified that as our limit of impervious, our limit of structure that's with the house now. So what we had done was we trimmed our house back about 2 feet just to reach that line there. And then we extended that only laterally. Original deck for this project was proposed to be on a foundation. That would have been another impervious surface increase and a push closer to the resource area of that structure. So we then altered that to be placed on helical piers. That way the substrate underneath it's not disturbed, no foundation goes in, and we don't change the ground conditions that are out there now. So we had walked through that on September 9th, and the majority of our conversations at that point were centered around the existing hardscape in the rear of the lot, a lot of the after the fact work that we are looking to permit here, as well as the mitigation plan. One of the main things that came out of that was a discussion around our stormwater management. So the commission will remember that we have 2 subsurface drywall systems going in. We have the rear gutters hooked up to drywalls in the rear, and then same thing with the front yard. So we had discussed that although those drywalls were sized to handle all of the impervious surfaces on the site, the runoff that was actually associated with this patio and hardscape we see in the rear was not actually hooked up to those. So it was sized to the full impervious surface cover of the site, but only hooked up to the gutters, meaning that in practice, the water that would fall in this area would still move down gradient towards Lake Maspinock. And so what we've done since then, and the commission would have received this about mid last week, is we added a slot drain to the plans. Seen in this blue line here, the patio that's here now has a slot drain installed where a subsurface pipe will now deliver the stormwater from this patio and hardscaped area to the dry wells. So the intent was to keep the dry wells the size that they are, as they were already sized to handle this, but then to actually take the stormwater, modify the plans, and redirect that into the dry well. So that was sort of a follow-up to that original waiver request letter. That the reason that the patio and the hardscape is proposed to remain is that the area was lawn previously. We didn't feel that it was contributing to the factors and the interest of the bylaw at present before this, but that the runoff was a very valid concern. And so we added that slot drain as a result. The other addition we made was more of just a clarification. The last couple iterations of this plan that we've been presenting with the commission, it's showing all of the patio, the hardscape in the rear of the lot in pink. We've been showing this plan that I show here, and that kind of presents the presentation that all of this is new and after the fact permitting. So we just broke it out into 2 different colors to show back in about 2021, before any of the unpermitted work occurred, what was out there. So we identified the old 200 square foot patio that was out there. That was a concrete paver patio, and then the existing shed that was there as well. It just provides a little bit of a clearer image of what's new, what was there previously, and what we've added for stormwater to sort of guide the discussion. So with that, we did submit a response letter to Lucas's final couple comments last week, knowing that that's not a ton of time. We know that portion of it's ongoing, but if Joe has any comments for us, then we're more than happy to talk through them here. And with that, I'll turn it over to the commission for questions.
All right. Thank you. And thank you for updating the coloring here on the patio. I found that very helpful when I was reviewing the plan this time around.
Absolutely.
I did take a look, took some time to take a look at the drainage aspect with the dry wells, the pre and post. And I appreciate the fact that we are capturing the first inch of runoff from all the impervious areas. I do think that makes a difference. We're infiltrating before it gets to the lake. So I see that as a benefit to the site and adding that slot drain. I didn't see a detail for the slot drain or dimensions or anything like that. Did I miss that, or is that not on the plan set at this point in time?
Yeah, it's not on the plan set at this time, so you didn't miss anything, but that's certainly something we can add, especially if there are questions on sizing and detail. That's something that can be added to the plans very easily.
Okay. I think that would be helpful.
Absolutely, we'll make note of that.
And then the other thing when I was looking at the drainage piece is how does is there a way that the driveway runoff gets to the dry wells, or how is that graded on the site? Kind of looks like it goes into the garage right now.
But yeah, fair enough. The driveway, so there's currently no French drains or anything like that that would connect the driveway runoff to the dry wells. It's sort of just the grading of the site would pitch overland flow. So with that in mind, that's something I can talk to the engineers about. I know, the patio addition of the slot drain is we're trying to manage stormwater to the best that we can and make sure that once this project is approved, that we do manage stormwater beyond what was done even prior to any of this work taking place. So the answer is at present, there's nothing done over there, but I'm happy to take a look at that with them.
Okay. Yeah, I think for the benefit of the homeowner too, just it's make sure the street isn't being channeled into the driveway, into the site, into the house.
It's always a benefit, absolutely.
Joe, you was looking at your comments. So I'm curious to hear from you, especially on the planting list and the natives and kind of the discussion back and forth on that.
Well, I don't know if the commission has had a chance to look at the recent, the last memo. I just submitted it late this afternoon.
Okay.
But just had a couple of remaining comments. I will, one of them was with regard to the plant list. All the plants on the plant list are listed as native by either Go Botany or USDA, the plants database. But it's either, I'm thinking almost all of them, it's one or the other and not both. I think in the past, the commission has accepted as native plants that were listed as either, but maybe someone else can confirm that also, but I think that's been the case. In which case that all these would qualify as native. Well, I think the other comment I had at the commission, though we may still be discussing, is if the commission is satisfied with respect to the delineation or non-delineation of any BBW. Only because I agree with based on the vegetation that was reported by the applicant after my initial site inspection, I agree that the vegetation does not qualify as a wetland, but I did not look at that after my initial inspection back in, I think it was May or April when the ground was still frozen. But I wasn't sure if that was still a topic on the minds of any commission member or not, but I just left it as to be discussed. The other comment I had was that regarding the new drain, there are no wattles on the site plan shown along. Actually, it's not that; it's along the bank. The planting plan shows erosion control area along the bank. The site plan does not, so I'd recommend that the site plan also show that erosion control area along the top of the bank. And the only other comment I had was regarding the buffer zone disturbance calculations. The buffer zones were updated based on the bordering land subject to flooding. And I know that the numbers that were submitted were based on the buffer zones from bank only. So with the buffer zone, the no disturb zone, and the no build zone now being moved, I think the applicant should also report the numbers, the disturbance numbers within those revised buffer zone lines. I think that covers it.
Okay. So discussion items. Obviously, updating the disturbance numbers is pretty straightforward. The wetland line question.
And through the chair, I can speak to that briefly if we want to just have a quick discussion on that. So I know we discussed that on the earlier meetings, but since this project has been ongoing since about March, it's probably worth just discussing again was when this plan was first filed with you guys, we had shown what we show as the concrete wall / bank of Lake Maspinock as the edge of the resource area and show the buffer zones off of that. The original Lucas peer review had explained that excavating in some of the soils immediately upgradient of that wall would yield some hydric soils. I don't remember the exact soil coloring, of course, in their report, but it was essentially that the soils are hydric and there was redox within that typical profile. And the area should be looked at as if it was a wetland or not. And so what we had done is we had conducted another site visit out there after that, just to take a look at the soils and the vegetation. So what we had found is there is redox in the soil that would be considered a hydric soil based on presence of groundwater, which would make sense. At this point, it's the lawn that's right up against the retaining wall on Lake Maspinock, so it would coincide with the fluctuation in water levels, but that the vegetation in it was all upland. So this was in March, but it was all low-growing upland species, mainly clovers, plantains, things of that nature, that would suggest that the vegetation was upland and then did not meet the criteria that way. So we had submitted an opinion letter a few months back that we did not find that had the vegetation to be considered a wetland area. I think furthermore with this application, the only areas where there were any pockets of soils like that were immediately above the wall. This project actually proposes to only restore that area. We're putting native plantings in an area that's currently lawn and removing it. So though we didn't think it was a wetland resource area, in our own investigation, I don't know that it's in our response had mentioned that we don't know that it's necessarily important for this project because it's proposed as, native restoration to remain only anyways.
Okay, thank you for that recap.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
I hate to say this, but Andrew, could you talk a little slower? I'm having a hard time keeping up. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yep. Ed, did you catch that, or we want to?
No, I'm getting it, but I think Andrew has a calling as an auctioneer.
I think he does speak very, very quickly, moving this meeting along. All right. So in regards to the wetland line, does anyone have anything they want to discuss on that, or are we comfortable using the wall as the line? I think we've done that on other applications similar to this. I think. And I think I personally think I'm leaning towards feeling comfortable with that. So if no one else has any thoughts.
Feels good to me.
What was that, Ted?
I said it feels good to me.
Feels good to you. Okay, good.
Give
We'll
you
move
some- I don't want you to feel all alone out there.
All right. Does anyone else have, I shared kind of my comments on some of the stormwater stuff. Um, does anyone have any other thoughts on this?
Yeah, I have a question. I've been on mission for a while, but others have been here longer than I. I think, Andrew, if I understood you correctly, you suggested that commission precedent is if there's incursion within the 50-foot buffer, additional incursion, as long as it extends laterally and not closer to the water resource, the commission has in the past accepted. Is that what you suggested, Andrew? And if so, is that true? Has that been the commission's stance before, that we allow additional inside the 50 incursion as long as it's lateral to what was previously there?
But Ted, I'll just chime in quick and say this. That was a discussion point. I believe it was our second conservation meeting with you all, which would have been sometime in the summer. We had discussed that in the sense of we were just discussing what the commission would usually do in these circumstances. And at least to my knowledge, and any commissioners, please correct me if I'm wrong, that was a discussion that we would find that point where we have our closest encroachment and to not expand closer to that. I certainly can't speak to the longstanding history of the commission, but that was my memory.
So I'm looking to help from the commission. Thank you, Andrew. I'm looking for help from commissioners, especially those who have been here longer than I.
Yeah, Ted, that's a good question and something that I was kind of bouncing around in my head looking at the proposed dwelling being okay, like probably being okay with existing foundation and building upon that if it's in the 50, but definitely some hesitation on extending that even laterally. I mean, it is really hard to see the lines in this plan, and it might be splitting hairs.
Yeah, if it's helpful, I can zoom in on a cursor here. So the existing foundation encroachment is everything that we would see on my cursor right here. So the only new lateral encroachment we would be talking about would be the area that we see right here. It's of course a very minor sliver. It would be over lawn only. And the truth of the matter is because architecturally, for them to cut this little bit here wouldn't make sense with the layout of the property or any of the plans that they have. And so that's why it's a very, very minor encroachment. And if it's helpful, I could certainly get the square footage on that.
Through the chair.
Yes, Anna.
So if I remember correctly from the research that I did a while ago for this project, so it was house foundation. So I don't know that we've considered impervious under decks as house foundation in the past. So it's typically, dwelling area. And we have allowed lateral along that same line if it is within the 50. But again, this one seems to be, it was their deck that they're asking for that extension on, not the living space of the house.
Gotcha.
Through the chair.
So I think, oh, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that the blue line that was pointed out as the 50-foot buffer is the 50-foot buffer to bank, I believe. The 50-foot buffer to bordering land is further upgrading, more or less in the middle of the house.
Hmm.
And that was moved when the FEMA maps were updated.
Yes, for this property, they were updated on July 8th of this year. So it was about right in the middle of this project review, the FEMA maps were updated. So we do show those buffer zones. That was also addressed in a comment with Lucas, is the difference between the 50-foot to the bank of the lake itself and the 50-foot to to the floodplain line. The reason that we had evaluated and kind of separated that out was, of course, one is the actual lake resource area that we're trying to protect. One is just the floodplain line. So when we do our calculations, I think it might be helpful to provide calculations for both 50-foot zones. That way we can demarcate the difference.
Right.
So I guess my feeling, I think, regarding that extending laterally kind of fits with your hesitation, Melissa. And there's, frankly, so much I see on this plan that makes me uncomfortable. But one more thing is that lateral incursion. We are adding 50-foot disturbance. I mean, to me, that matters. And whether it's a sliver or not, I worry about precedent in the future. And you allowed that sliver over there. Ours is only X square feet bigger. So that is one of several things that gives me real pause with this plan.
Mm. Yeah, I don't think that I don't think that our decision on whether or not it should or shouldn't be pulled back should be based on what we think an architect can or can't do. I like to think that they can design around the box that they're given or the area that they're given.
We understand that. Sorry, Melissa, didn't mean to cut you off there.
Yeah, no, that was pretty much it.
Perfect. No, we understand that. And actually, I was going to build off that and say, Ted, if you don't mind, you had made a comment about some other concerns of the plans. So our intent tonight, I think the stormwater was a major addition. We've been trying to move this forward with the commission. As the commission knows, the applicant did go through ZBA to get a different front yard setback approved to push this up. So we're making the efforts that we can, and our hope is certainly to be able to move this in the right direction, so we can bring this to a close and allow them to proceed with this. So Ted, my question for you is, if there are other concerns, and this is to all the commissioners as well on these plans right now, we're more than willing to take all those comments and hear them, so that way we can go back and try to come up with a plan that would address all of them. So if there's anything else, if you don't mind letting us know.
So I can do my own thoughts briefly through the chair, if that's okay, Melissa.
Sure, go for it.
Your applicant is asking for approval on all of that hardscape. And I can't imagine that if that were a new application, that I could be convinced that that was something that was acceptable to me. That none of the hardscape has been offered to be returned to something more natural is disappointing to me. That the applicant is asking to keep all that hardscape and offer only the plantings that I see while keeping lawn in place, which is always a worry to me next to the lake. I feel like if there is an ask to keep the hardscape, which I think is a difficult one to accept, then there needs to be a flooding of plantings as mitigation for all of that hardscape, not a dotting along some of the edges with some other edges going straight to the lakefront. The backyard generally is a major problem for me beyond just the size of the house and where the house sits relative to buffer area.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. That's helpful for us to know.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else want to share their comments?
To the chair,
yes, Ed.
Is the house as proposed on a pre-existing foundation?
Some of it is over that footprint, some of it is not. So it is a little hard to see again, but the line that we see on my cursor here that we see in black, that's the existing footprint of the house. So it is over much of the footprint of the existing dwelling. It is a slight expansion into the lawn on both sides. And then, as I had just mentioned in my earlier comment, the applicants and homeowners on this went through the ZBA process to actually move the front yard setback up 10 feet. We do push 10 feet closer, so a portion of it is also over the existing portion of the driveway. and walkway. So much of it is over impervious, and there are portions of it that would be over lawn.
So the house facing the lake, that is on the existing foundation, maybe wider, but yes?
Yes. Yep. So the deck that's out there now is also on a foundation. It's concrete underneath. So all of that foundation ends at the rear of the house that we see here in orange, and then it just has that slight lateral encroachment. And the deck that we see here is just on helical piers. That way it's elevated above, and everything underneath it does not change.
Right, I understand about the deck. So, but the house facing the lake, the distance from the lake, whatever, however we want to phrase it, that foundation is the original foundation of the house, although it might have been added to on either side.
Correct. Yes. The very end of this is the same.
Okay, thank you.
If you go like page north, the building is getting bigger to the north, Ed. So that area is not on existing foundation. That's on lawn area. You're muted though, Ed.
Pushing the wrong button, sorry.
There you
go. So that's what generates the little gaposis out there.
If we zoom in, I'm sorry, Melissa, if we zoom in on the house, you might be able to see, Ed, better where the current dwelling is versus proposed.
Yeah, okay, I think I got it.
Yep, and then this line here is the existing driveway. It's a wide driveway there now, so we can see the existing driveway line and the dwelling line.
So through you, Melissa, I have a question. Andrew, yes. What is the footprint of the existing building with all appurtenances, with all the porch and so forth, deck versus the proposed? I'm sorry if I missed that.
No, it's in the notice of intent, but that's not something that's on these plans right here. That's a calculation that I should be able to get for you pretty quickly.
Well, I can look it up on the notice of intent too.
Yeah, I'll let the commission move on to any other questions, but I will be looking up that calculation in the meantime, just so I can get it for you.
Okay.
I was gonna say on the plan with the stormwater design, the drywall sizing calcs say existing impervious area 3,850 square feet, proposed 4,080 square feet. So if that number
looks more than that, but okay, thank you.
Yeah, so the existing dwelling takes up about 800 square feet, and then the home doesn't look like it's on there, but I believe this one is closer to 1,200, something of that nature, but I can get that calculation.
All right.
Great. Matt, do you have anything to add or that you want to see?
Nothing on my end that hasn't already been said.
Okay.
Melissa?
Yes.
I think I just want a clarification on one thing that I think was explained, but if we could zoom in on the house again one more time, please. So the existing concrete we're talking about as a foundation for the house, but it's actually the edge of the current house is west of that concrete, that concrete is foundation for a deck, not the house. Is that true? The existing house wall is not in the same location as the proposed house wall.
Correct. The limit of impervious is the same, but the actual house location would end somewhere in my cursor here, and then the deck foundation would be here.
Okay. So I don't know if that changes a little bit, Ed, what you were asking about the wall facing the lake. They would be in a slightly different location, but the concrete would be the same, at least on the part that's already built. Is that true, Andrew? Am I saying that correctly?
You are, yeah. The reason why we use that is it's the limit of impervious associated. So that's exactly right.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that was clear.
But through you, Melissa, you're pouring placing a whole new foundation for the new dwelling, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Does that help, Ed?
Thank you.
All right. I think you've got our final feedback, Andrew.
Yes, no, this was helpful. So excuse me for the direct questions. It's just very helpful for us to see exactly what the kind of concerns are so we can go back and review them. So I think we have everything noted. I think that that takes it. So we're happy to go back and discuss, and we'll come back.
Through the chair, one more comment?
Yes, Joe.
Yep, I don't know if the commission has decided on whether or not PIB markers are appropriate here. I think the applicant has stated that the bank will function as PIB, but I don't know if
I think
proceed by some markers.
Yeah, no, thanks for bringing that up. Because I can't remember if we talked about it on the site or one of the other very similar sites along the lake with these properties. I think we've been using or allowing the wall along the bank to be the PIB. And I think I'm okay with that. Does anyone else have thoughts?
I would only say, I don't think we need to have the plastic medallions on the wall.
Yeah. Just identify on the plan that, yeah, that's the PIB. Okay. Can I get a motion to continue this out to our next hearing, which is November 4th?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, Ed?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jim? Jim?
Aye.
Okay, and I'm also aye. Okay.
All right. Thank you all for your time tonight.
No problem. Thank you. Okay. All right, that's it for our hearings. I'm gonna go down to the exemption request for Trails Committee Berry Acres Boardwalk. This was a continuation. We were almost there and then realized we should ask for details on the boardwalks themselves, which I believe we've received. Yep, thanks, Judy. So, Joe, I don't know if you had a chance to look at this, but I think it looks pretty similar to what we've approved in the past.
I have not, but at first glance, it appears to be similar to what you've looked at in the past and approved.
Yeah.
Through the chair.
Yes, Anna.
I believe you have Sean Kimball on the call too, if you guys have questions.
Oh, do we? Great. Hi, Sean.
Hello.
So yeah, maybe you can answer the question. Is this typical or does it vary at all from what we've seen in the past for sections and details on the boardwalks?
The appearance will look exactly the same. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the boardwalks we just installed at Berry Acres. But very similar. The difference, not the biggest, it's not that big of a difference. This is going to be 4 foot wide versus the boardwalks at Berry Acres are 3 foot.
Okay.
That's the only difference. But again, it's a typical construction, 4x6 stringers, 4x6 footers, and then 2x6 deck boards.
Okay. Is there a reason for the width change? So just a
Yes. So I think longer term planning is to connect the schools to essentially Windsor Apartments. So students would have access to walk the trails from the apartments to the schools.
okay.
And the theory is students would like to walk side by side versus in single file.
Gotcha.
And I might add that older people with some difficulty getting around like it 4 feet wide.
That's another reason. Strollers, another thing we talked about.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Okay, thank you for following up with
Absolutely
details. I think at this point we can probably go ahead and take a vote to accept the exemption request. You can get a motion to that effect with signatures by Judy and Anna.
So moved.
And a second.
All in favor, Ed?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And Jim?
Aye.
All right. You're good to go.
excellent. Have a good night.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay. Cheers, all.
All right, next up we have 168 Hayden Row, Hopkinton Historical Society. Request for waiver of RCOC fee. Judy, do you want to talk about this one for a minute?
To the chair, sure, and I think we also have the applicant on the line as well.
Okay.
But this was in order for perimeter drainage and plantings around the Historical Society building on Hayden Row. The applicant is requesting a waiver of the consultant fee to close out the permit, as they received a waiver for consultant fee for the NOI. When Kim was here, she did the review herself and didn't have Lucas do it. We're not exactly sure of the reasoning behind it, but their request is to have sort of a similar closeout period where staff review the COC request against the approved plans. So commission to discuss if you're all right with that.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Dan McIntyre. I am here representing the Historical Society. The reason the bylaw fee was waived for the NOI, and we expect it to be waived for the certificate of compliance, is because this type of work is exempt from the bylaw. So we would be exempt from the fee as well.
Okay.
So specifically under, I think it's 4.6G of the bylaw, this chapter should not be required for maintaining, repairing, or replacing, but not substantially enlarging an existing lawfully located structure, facility, yard, or landscaping on any pre-existing lot recorded at the time of the wetlands bylaw. So this lot is, we provided proof this lot was before the bylaw during the notice of intent hearings. And the only work was to replace the footing drain, which was not functioning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember it being not too involved of a review in project. And I believe you buried a bunch of invasives on that site, right?
We did.
How did that go?
It went good. Actually, the timing of kind of the summer drought worked out really well for us to get this work done. We didn't have to do any dewatering that we were concerned about. We were able to dig down pretty deep and bury those invasives.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm inclined to be in support of issuing that waiver and having Judy go ahead and give it a look. for the COC. Especially being that it's a nonprofit.
And it was
Yeah,
all
I'm okay with that.
CPC.
And what was that?
It was all, the money was all funded through CPC.
Through CPC.
Right.
Okay. Jim, you're okay? You're good with that? Others?
Yes. Yep.
I don't want to volunteer Judy to do a whole bunch of work for other people all the time. But in this case, I think we can make a special case. If you're up for it, Judy.
Yep, that's fine with me.
Okay. I guess we should go ahead and should we vote on that? You think? I don't know if we need to vote.
No, I don't think it's necessary.
You can do it at the time you vote for the COC if you want.
That's true. Okay. We'll just give our blessing now then.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, next up we have 100 Ash Street. Violation discussion for a shed. Do we have anyone, do we have the homeowner or anyone representing the homeowner? For this?
Yes, absolutely. You've got both, I believe, Oleg, the homeowner, is online, as well as myself, Chris Frateroli. I'm a wetland scientist with Goddard Consulting.
Okay, welcome.
So I would, sorry, I was just going to say, I would defer to you as to how to handle it. I've been on site as of last Friday and can kind of give you what I've seen, but, you know, we're kind of looking to open a dialogue with the commission.
Yeah, no, that's great. Judy, why don't you just give a brief how we got here intro before Goddard gives their 2 cents?
Sure. Through the chair, I can pull up the enforcement order you all had voted on back in September in response to notice of installation of a shed within the 100-foot buffer to a BBW at 100 Ash Street. The enforcement order required the homeowner to submit a sketch plan containing the location of the shed and any other unpermitted activities, as well as a narrative containing various information, including date of installation of the shed, previous condition of the area where the shed now sits, any trees removed to install the shed, material and method of installation, extent of gravel, and any other unpermitted changes. So since then, we do have a bulk of this information that the homeowner sent over to us. So we have a sketch plan containing the location of the shed. We've got a narrative containing the date. Pull that up. Date of installation of the shed, some information about it, how it was installed, what was there previously. Underneath, it's about 1 inch of gravel, so it's not on a sort of permanent foundation. And the memo from Goddard explained that shrubs and saplings were removed, but not, specified exactly how many. So I think we have a good amount of the information, and up to the commission now, what they would like to see in terms of next steps.
Okay. Thanks, Judy. Yeah, no, we appreciate that. I think we were definitely just looking to gather information. We appreciate the homeowner pulling that together for us. I guess I'll turn it over to you, Chris, to let us know what you've been working on and give your piece.
Yeah, absolutely. So as of, I guess, overnight Thursday, we were retained by Oleg to, help him through this piece of the process. And we started off with delineating the wetlands, as we start pretty much everything that we do. We delineated a wetland line that looks quite similar to the wetland line shown on here. I believe this came from a plan from like the mid-90s. So things may have shifted a little bit over time, but generally from what I can tell, based on kind of referencing this plan to what I did in the field, they look pretty much, pretty similar. We did also, kind of evaluate the extent of the impact caused by the shed. I think that, as far as wetlands violations go, it's not the most egregious out there. It's a bit of crushed stone, for all intents and purposes, pretty mobile shed placed on top of it. And we measured that as being about 40 feet from the wetland line. I think maybe, Judy, if you have my report there, I think there's a photo in there showing that. We just, as we were in the field, pulled tapes off of the nearest wetland flag to the corner of the shed. I think it's the last one, maybe. Maybe one more. There we go. So this was the nearest wetland flag that I hung, and it's a little tough to see through some of the leaves, but we're at about 40 feet from the corner of the shed. My colleague Jacob's over there holding the tape on the other end of the shed. You can see his high-vis vest. So essentially that's the due diligence we've done so far. We've got wetland flags up. We've kind of started to evaluate, what that area might have looked like, and it's a matter of piecing together historic aerials, right? I know from my conversations with Oleg that this area had been previously disturbed and, from what we can tell, used for some sort of storage. I know he had indicated to me that there was not a tremendous amount of vegetation removed. It was mostly some small brush type things. No real tree removal occurred to make room for this. And there is, let's see, I do have a quick aerial that I had pulled up if it would be okay if I shared my screen momentarily.
Yeah, that's okay with me.
This is a 2019 aerial that, publicly available. And this is generally the area where that shed is. And, it's a little hard to tell exactly what's going on there, but we think it looks pretty clearly like it's, a relatively disturbed area. So again, just not, I have some more photos as well, but for all intents and purposes, no tremendous amount of vegetation removal occurred as part of this. And while we're here, I may as well go through a few of my other photos. Here's a view of the shed. You can see this corner of the foundation wall, which is shown on that plan that we were looking at a moment ago, for a little bit of a sense of scale and location, and really just kind of inserted there at the edge of the tree line. Looking back the other direction, and showing it is on wheels, so it's not really a permanent installation. It could be moved if need be, but this is kind of what it looks like from that perspective. And then this was a photo that Oleg had obtained somewhere showing generally the same area from apparently the year 2000, showing that it had kind of been used in a similar manner historically. So that's what I've got for photos. And I think we really just kind of wanted to open it up to the commission, see what the commission's thoughts were on the best way to proceed from here. I know we would love to not have to move the thing and be able to seek some sort of after the fact approval if the commission would be amenable to that. But that's why we're here this evening.
Okay. Great. Thank you for collecting that information, giving us a good picture. What would it look like? So 40 feet from the wetland, previously disturbed area, looks like. I think to the commission, the question is, would we approve this? If it came before us, do we want to see any movement, and what type of after the fact approvals or changes are we considering? Does anyone have any thoughts looking at what was presented today? Or questions for Chris or the applicant?
I don't have anything else, but I will say more to that. That's a good point. We look at things as if they were coming in to be freshly permitted.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it, Jim?
I think that was it for Jim.
Yeah, that's it.
So my own thought, if I understood Jim correctly, we look at it as if it's being proposed now. The shed is on wheels, it's movable. I think if it were proposed now, my response would be, can you just move it 10 feet closer to your house so that we don't have any issues? Because it's on wheels, I think it is reasonable to ask that it be slid, rolled 10 feet. I'm not worried about the saplings that are being cut. I trust Goddard and the applicant that there were no major trees cut down. And if the shed is moved, and the land behind the shed in those 10 feet were allowed to grow saplings again, that's probably what I would have pushed for if this were a fresh application now.
Thanks, Ted. That's good. Good thoughts.
Based on documents that have been shown, there was previously something here and the town presumably knew about it. I tend to err on the side of this is not something new. This is a replacement of what was there.
Yeah, that's a good point too, Ed. And I do believe the homeowner, you are relatively new to the property, right? You moved in here within the last year or so.
Yeah, I think it was about a year and a half ago.
Year and a half ago. Yeah. Matt, do you have any thoughts, feelings on this one?
I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other.
Okay. One thing, we do always try and bring up when we have a property, whether it's at any stage of the game when it comes in front of us, is whether we could potentially get some PIBs put up just so that edge is memorialized and identified for people going forward, whether it's this homeowner or a future homeowner, to kind of raise that flag if they're going to do something in that area or looking to potentially do something in any of that area along the wetlands. It would flag for whoever it is, a homeowner, a landscaper, anybody, that there's resource area, that some thought needs to be given to considering bringing a proposal to the commission. I don't know if that's something that the homeowner would be amenable to adding on their property.
Yeah, we can certainly discuss that. I will note there is kind of I don't know, calling it a retaining wall is generous, but there is a little bit of a sort of a stone wall, I'll use the term loosely, with screening plantings basically along the entire perimeter of that backyard that sits something like 20 to 40 feet from the wetland line. So for all intents and purposes, I feel as though that does a fair job of providing some sort of permanent immovable barrier. But, I understand that if that's the commission's request, I think it's a relatively minor one.
Okay. Judy, as far as after the fact approvals, what would we be looking at documentation wise here?
So through the chair, generally for sheds, if they're further than 50 feet, they've been able to be approved as minor project exemptions. So not requiring the filing of a permit application, either an RDA or an NOI. So I think being that it's within 50, that might be a situation that would trigger maybe an RDA. But if they can get it outside of 50, if the commission would like, I can write up an exemption letter. But in the past, if it's been closer than 50, you all don't generally approve as straight up exemptions.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes.
If we found a way to, you know, squeeze in a handful of native plantings or something like that, you know, as mitigation for whatever small corner of this thing sits within the 50, would the commission consider that as potential mitigation for leaving the shed where it sits today?
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Judy, it's more of like an RDA. We could still potentially approve an RDA with the shed within 50 without the mitigation.
Yes.
Right. So I think it's more of a paperwork standpoint of whether we can go for a minor project exemption where technically we're only to issue those if you're greater than 50, you're outside of that 50-foot with the shed, which you're not.
Understood.
Which then kicks you over to the RDA, which is filling out that paperwork, which again, I don't know, can open up to the commission again as far as whether if you come to us with an RDA, I don't know that we would require plantings.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking, you know, for the sake of crossing T's and dotting I's, perhaps an RDA to leave it where it stands, you know, with or without some sort of mitigation, may be an acceptable approach.
I'll open up to the commission. Do commission members feel that looking at this as with an RDA would require some mitigation? Would you be looking for mitigation, or kind of as Ed alluded to that there was an existing storage use here, and we accept it as an RDA under that stance?
Melissa, I don't. Oh, go ahead, Judy.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify something I said. So by exempting outside of 50, I meant more as staff exemptions. So staff, we don't exempt anything within 50. The commission can exempt minor work within the 50. I mean, you do accept the boardwalk exemption requests. It's just not as common with sheds. So I would say it's not, you know, necessarily out of the realm of possibility if you would like to entertain a minor project exemption request. It just would be through the commission and not through staff.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, that works for me.
A minor project exemption works for you, Jim?
Yeah.
Or an RDA?
Well, I don't know because I'm not really sure how that applies, but.
I think the minor.
We have before approved minor project exemptions, haven't we? After the fact. Right? This is after the fact. So haven't we before? Maybe not.
Not that I've seen, no. But if we're looking at this as a fresh request, I think it is something you might consider, but I haven't seen you all approve an after the fact minor project exemption.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to go down that route with sheds. I don't think we do.
I don't think we can.
Yeah.
I think for it to be considered a minor project exemption, even by us, it needs to be more than 50 feet from a resource area.
Right.
So I think an RDA is the appropriate path forward.
Yep. Unless you want to move the shed.
Or if they want to move it outside, outside the 50 foot.
Yeah. So, and through the chair, just to put a finer point on this, if we are contemplating leaving it within 50 feet, an RDA sounds appropriate. if we were to move it outside of 50, we might be able to get through with a minor project exemption.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
So I think it's up to you.
Understood. I know the intention is, moving it 10 feet forward puts a pretty tight squeeze between the front of the shed and the corner of that foundation in terms of access going forward. So that's why I say I do know that it is preferable to leave it where it stands today. And especially, considering that with the fact that it has been historically disturbed, I think it's a reasonable proposition. So that's really what we were trying to gauge the commission's feeling on this evening.
Okay. Yeah, and as you know, an RDA isn't too big of a lift.
Right. Yeah. No, we were. An RDA is totally doable on our end.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Anyone from the public?
Through the chair,
yep.
You might want to consider issuing a new enforcement order requiring either an RDA application or a minor project request by a certain date.
Okay, that's a good point. Thank you, Judy.
And through the chair, sorry to interrupt. There was one other piece of this that we were contemplating and figured tonight might be a, do it all in one shot kind of opportunity. Judy, do you still have that as-built plan handy?
Yep.
So there is that foundation wall that I had shown in those photos earlier is an extension essentially of this garage over here on the left side of the house. And the foundation has not been completed. It's really just kind of an open foundation at this point. And I know it's Oleg's intention to complete that work. And so this is kind of an extension of this conversation that we were hoping to have with the commission if you have a few extra minutes for us. But if we could find a way to maybe wrap that into an RDA, considering it's already an existing structure, it would just be completion of that structure or something along those lines.
I believe so. I think you could include that in an RDA application. Obviously with the additional information so we can understand, the scope and what exactly you're doing there.
Right. Yeah. My thought is it falls under the category of, repair, replace, but not substantially enlarge. Because that foundation's already there. And my assumption is no digging, it would have been lawn anyway if it wasn't there. So my thought is that might be also appropriate to include in an RDA in terms of the scope of work. And, we'd be happy to show erosion controls and those types of things, but just kind of wanted to get the commission's take on that as well.
Okay. It makes sense to me. Does anyone else have a contrary thought? No? Okay. Then I guess I'll ask you, Chris, how long do you think you need if we were writing up an enforcement order, like Judy said, with a date to come back with an RDA? What's a reasonable amount of time for you to do that?
So this is always the $1 million question, right? I guess an important question to ask in this is, would the commission require a surveyed plan showing these things? I think that, and before I move on, I'll offer that we could, we do have a high quality Trimble GPS unit that gets to, near survey grade accuracy. If you don't have, on a good day, it's, plus minus 3 inches or so. So we'd be happy to prepare some graphics kind of showing the shed and the foundation and those types of things using that device in lieu of a survey. And especially since this as-built is, only barely 2 years old, using that as a base plan seems to me like, a reasonable alternative to avoid the cost and expense and really the time delay of having to get survey back out here. So, you know, assuming that would be acceptable to the commission, I'd say, you know, a month, 6 weeks, you know, just to be sure. But I would leave that to the commission.
Yeah, I think that for whatever would fall under the scope of an RDA or what we would consider eligible under an RDA, that would be sufficient. I don't think we would need a new survey, especially given the detail on this as-built that's fairly current. But again, I'll open it up to other commission members to see if anyone has any closing thoughts there or concurs. A thumbs up.
I concur. The Trimble is plenty accurate enough for wetland delineation.
Yeah.
I concur also.
Okay. So, Judy, why don't we write that up for whatever, for 6 weeks out?
Yep, I can do that. Maybe one of the December meetings, I can count back to a filing deadline.
Okay. That'd be great. All right. Well, thank you for coming in.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. That's super helpful. We get direction on a lot of things and make sure we're not spinning our wheels.
Yeah, good. All right. Have a good night.
You guys too.
All right. Next up, we have 32 Granite Street violation discussion for clearing. Judy, can you go over this one?
Yep. So we were contacted by a tree company back on September 17th. They were seeking guidance on tree removal in a jurisdictional property, responded that the owner needed Concom permission and asked them to submit an arborist report. But by the time we drove by about a week later, we saw a pretty large amount of understory and saplings had been removed, and several large trees were tagged either for pruning or removal. So this was a property that came before you all earlier this year for a COC. So we do have pretty good before pictures from Joe showing a pretty healthy amount of saplings in this area. We were unable to access the property, so these are all from the street. Not sure what impacts were done in the back of the property, but I would say on the scale of dozens of, you know, young trees and understory were removed. Can pull up Joe's original pictures if you'd like to see those.
Sure. Yeah.
And I believe the homeowners are on the line as well.
Yes, we're right there.
Provide more information, and I believe they also have additional requests for hazard tree removals on the property as well. So this is a view, the street's over here, so it's a little bit of a different angle of the front of the property. You can see there's a significant amount of young trees around those larger trees. And then if you go back to my pictures, really no young trees left in this area.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Judy, for going over that. So to our homeowners here.
Yes. Hi, my name is Pallavi, and that's my husband, Himanshu.
Hi, nice to meet everyone.
Nice to meet you.
So we're fairly new to the area, and so the trees that you see that we have like cut, the young saplings. Some of them were diseased trees, or some of them were like really slanting. We do have a lot of other trees on the property that are like slanting towards the house. So when we contacted this tree company, I don't remember who we contacted, who got the organization that reached out to you for for the pruning and what was the requirement. We had asked them, we showed them the property, they had marked the trees, and that's when they said, okay, we'll go out to the town and ask. These are the big trees, the tall 80 feet kind of trees. These trees that we cut, again, like I said, they were either diseased or they were leaning, and we have a 3-year-old who runs around, loves to play in the woods. So just from her safety perspective also, these trees, we just cut them down with the fact that they were harmful, or they were slightly threatening to our daughter because they could fall with the way they were leaning. So even with that, this was the only tree company the guys that reached out to you who said we needed a permit. We had our previous landscaper who said you can just cut these trees, even though the medallions are right there. There's a number. I'm not sure if he was aware of the law. So these trees, when we cut them, we did not know about this. And it was this tree company that contacted you, said that's when we realized that we had to seek permission from you all and give like a certified arborist report. So that's kind of been the situation. Also, proactively, again, this is before all this happened, with our current landscaper, we have plans to add in about 10 to 12 more native plants and trees in this area. We just removed the young ones because they were, again, either diseased or kind of leaning towards the property.
Okay. Okay, so
I was about to say to that, like, again, we were not aware of the law. Again, like, it was not mentioned by the landscaper or anyone. So we cut the trees, just as Pallavi mentioned, because there were a lot of trees that were leaning over the cable line and on the house.
Yeah.
And there were also safety risk because, as she mentioned, like, we have a young daughter who like roams around the house. So the landscaper mentioned that it's better to cut the trees. We were not aware that we need to seek permission from a conservation committee. We are very new to this area.
okay. So yeah, this is definitely an education opportunity, learning opportunity. Judy, do you have the plan set that has like the PIBs on it, just so we can kind of go through? So this as-built plan here is your property, and as you're now aware, these proposed PIB icons on here should correspond to those ones that you see out on the trees that your tree company picked up on, I guess. And, when we approved this plan for your property, those were specifically identified to protect the wetland resource area, that is downstream from your property. So anything that you're doing in these areas, needs to look at the regulations that we have. Talk to Judy. She's fantastic at helping people understand what they can do, what they need to come to see us for, what she can, help with. I'm sure she's helped you,
yes,
recently to understand. So yeah, any trees so if we talk about the big trees, anything that you're looking to come down, that you're looking to take down, needs to be vetted through the commission. And even that understory that you were cutting is important habitat. It's important for the resource area. It's important for that whole, forest system, to properly take care of the wetlands that we're trying to protect and be that buffer. other things that we don't allow beyond the PIB is like dumping yard waste or things like that are also prohibited to try and maintain, that natural area. So I guess, you can, once you figure out with your arborist, with your tree company, if there are trees that you would like to come down, you can come in front of us for that. But tonight is the violation discussion about the clearing. So the question to the commission is what we want to do about the current violation. So you did say that you are planning on planting
11 to 12 native. We, with our current landscaper, so we work with Scott's Landscaping down at Lumber Street, and he's given us a quote for I think 10 to 12 trees and I think bushes as well, a few of them that we plan to add to our property in that whole area where we cut the trees off from.
Okay. I guess question to commission members. Sometimes when we have violations like this where there's clearing, cutting, we look for the applicant to provide us, or the homeowner to provide us with a kind of an inventory of what was cut, what was taken down, so that we can understand the scope of what was done, and then kind of make sure that appropriate mitigation, like that number of plants, 12, that you're proposing, kind of adequately replaces or takes the space of what was taken down. It's kind of hard in a meeting like this just to visualize what size of saplings and things like this were cut.
Okay, so do you suggest like maybe we just engage the arborist again to maybe prepare like some kind of document what was cut, or do you want us to prepare that document and share with the committee here?
Well, Melissa, can I ask a question first, which is, do you have any photographs of the way it was naturally before?
I think Judy has those photographs. I mean, we don't have the photographs of what it was before we cut it, because we just moved like 4 or 5 months back here.
Yeah, I think we have some photos, Jim. Judy has them from when we did this review previously. So I think we have some good before photos. We just don't have the after the cutting.
Right. All right, I'll look on the drive.
We could maybe get some photos. The homeowners could provide us with some current photos of the back of the property.
Or were there any photos of the backyard in the real estate listing that they may still have, or we can still get?
Well, I think we have those. That's what Jody's showing right now.
Okay, I see it.
But it's the current condition and just getting permission or getting information of the current condition.
Through the chair.
Yes, Judy.
I think a stump count would be helpful. Number of stumps, locations, width of the stumps. Since it seems like they're all still there, that might help put a number on it where they are. The whole property is jurisdictional, so either way, it was most likely buffer zone. But I think that's what we had with 10 exchanges. We asked for a stump survey plan.
Okay. Yeah, so and I don't know that needs to be done by an arborist if they wanted, or do you think so?
I think that's up to you.
Okay.
If you'd like a professional to do it versus the homeowner, you can make the request of staff verifying locations. So, if the homeowners are amenable to us being on the property to verify, I think it's, up to you all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'd be in favor of either if you as homeowners want to do your own
Sure.
markup and tally, you can do that. If you're amenable to Judy coming on, Judy or Anna coming to just do a verification check, if you don't mind them coming on your property.
Sure. Yeah,
Or
we
do you
could.
wanna-
So, yeah, we can do a count. We can send you pictures, and if Judy would want to come back to like verify, that's absolutely okay with us.
Okay. I think that would be helpful for us to understand the extent.
Sure.
Thank you.
And Melissa, if I may.
Yep.
I agree. It would be helpful. Part of what I'm struggling to picture is I keep hearing the saplings were cleared, and my picture of a sapling might be different from what other people are using. To me, a sapling is 4 feet high with a trunk in air quotes that is the thickness of my pinky. But it looks like from the pictures there are small trees, certainly, but maybe the thickness of a soda can that might be 10, 15 feet high. When I heard the applicant saying that some of these saplings were diseased and leaning, I had pictured a 4-foot plant being determined to be diseased. So the better I can understand what are the trees and what is a sapling and what is a 10-foot very young tree, but still a tree, that would really help me out.
Yeah.
So none of the trees were like too big or like too long because they were cut by 2 of us, and we are not professionals even. We just like cut them on our own, not by we never had any professional company to cut the trees. It was just 2 of us that we just got a axe from like the Lowe's, and we just cut some of the trees in the vicinity. So
I think they were 4 or 5 feet maximum, because
we can't
even do anything taller than that. I don't even think they were more than like 5 feet.
Yeah. So I mean, you can again.
Yeah, we can look at the pictures. You guys are happy to come on the property, but they weren't like trees. They were 5 feet, and probably their diameter would be like a soda can. I think that's the right analogy.
Okay.
Or even smaller than those.
Okay, so if you could try to put that together, and maybe Judy and I can help too by looking at the stumps or the whatever it is left after that.
Okay.
Sure. We're happy to do that.
Would help me picture a little bit better what might be proper replantings.
Okay.
Sure.
Let's go ahead and why don't we put a date on that, Judy, if we can do that. Our next meeting is November 4th, or it could be by November 25th.
November.
Yeah, that's fine.
4th or 24th.
4th is fine.
Yeah, 4th is fine with us.
Okay. That sounds good.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Might recommend having us issue an enforcement order just to get that date documented and enforceable. There's no cost burden. It's just putting, everything in writing and having
letter. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The enforcement authority if it's not followed.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And that can be a nice little summary to what we're looking for as well for them to come back with. Okay. Well, thank you for sticking around. It was really late night and you're at the very end.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
And again,
We apologize for not.
Yeah. We are new to the area. We were not aware of the law and like the regulations. So apologies again for that.
May I really quickly, before we lose the applicant, jump in?
Yes.
I know that tonight we are only talking about the cutting of trees, but you're planning to ask for permission to cut more. I just want to make sure that we're not confusing the term arborist with a tree cutter. What we'd be looking for when you put that application together is the report of a certified arborist, and not all landscapers are that. So and if you need more clarity, I see Judy nodding. I'm sure she can help you with that to make sure you can get to that application as quickly as possible by finding the right people initially.
Yeah,
sure.
There's a database of certified arborists operating in Massachusetts I can send over.
That would be helpful, because we tried reaching our current arborist and they've kind of been slacking. So that's the second part of when we have like I was speaking, we have some 80 feet trees which are hollow leaning. That would be a separate conversation. But for today and for the November 4th, we'll talk about the trees that we cut down.
We're all on the same page. I was just trying to streamline your second.
Yes, appreciate that.
Help that out ahead of time.
Sure, thank you.
And I would just recommend, Melissa, a vote with signatures for the enforcement order.
Okay, can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor, Ed? Ted?
It is an aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And Jim?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you.
have a good night.
Have a good night.
Okay, we haven't had a past 10 o'clock meeting in a while.
Can I jump in to make it slightly longer? We didn't vote with signatures for 100 Ash enforcement order. If we could just redo that vote with signatures, so we're not waiting until the next meeting to issue that document.
Sure, yes. Can I get a motion?
Yeah, I'll amend that motion. You motion.
I'll second the amendment.
All right, all in favor, Ed?
Aye.
Ted?
It is an aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And Jim?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem. Two quick things. I think we got through everything on the agenda. I didn't miss anything, right, Jeannie?
Nope.
Okay. Two quick things. We haven't had an in-person meeting in a while, so we should probably look at dates or think about putting one on the calendar. Judy, what as far as publication goes, the soonest date we could do that?
Would be the 2nd November.
The November 25th.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we've already advertised November 4th remote.
Okay. Are folks in favor of this? Opposed?
I'm in favor of it.
You're in favor, Jim?
Go for it.
Okay. I want to do the 25th.
Works for me.
Just a heads up in case anybody is that is Thanksgiving week. So we figured it'd be easier to have it 2 days before Thanksgiving than the Monday after Thanksgiving. I mean, the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. So just in case people are planning on traveling and may not be available.
How come we're not doing the 21st? Wait a minute. What is it now? Is that the second week?
That's the third.
No, we do it.
The next one is the 4th, right?
Yep, 4th.
Okay, how come not the 18th? Why the 25th?
So it was how we did the date so that you only had one meeting in December to try to allow for the holidays.
Okay. Well, we're around the 25th.
I like that date. It gives Ed an even better reason to bring us some food. Right there. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, but you need to understand that our kitchen is still 100% non-functional.
I think you're up to the challenge, Ed.
You have a whole month to figure it out.
Yep. It's Thanksgiving. I mean,
Not,
you gotta have
not
the
a case
kitchen.
of figuring it out. It's a case of getting it done.
All right, and last thing, Ted brought to our attention, he observed a spotted lantern fly.
Spotted fly, which is the one you see on posters all over the state that we should be on the lookout for. Down at Snappy Dogs this weekend, there was a spotted lanternfly crawling on the parking lot. With the help of folks, we captured the specimen. I took a look on the internet. I reported it to the state, which is what you're supposed to do. And then I euthanized the specimen. So I only bring it up to say that we are not one of the towns that is known to be covered in spotted lanternflies. So if you do happen to see one, there is a protocol you're supposed to follow. do essentially what I did, take a picture of it. You don't have to capture it the way I did, but the state asks you to take a picture of it, send them the photo when you file the report. Just Google Massachusetts spotted lanternfly and you will get to the right website.
Do they want proof of life?
What's that?
Do they want proof of life?
They didn't ask for proof of life. And after I euthanized the specimen, I just chucked it in the garbage in its death bag.
Oh, that sucks though. We have to start looking out and worrying about that.
Yeah, I've gotten one other report in the last couple months.
It was pretty easy to identify, frankly.
Yeah, they look different. They got that red.
It's a big gray bug, not really a moth. Its wing case closes differently. And even with the wing case closed, you can see a touch of very bright red kind of between the wings.
Yeah.
Wings are gray with dark gray or black spots on the outside. And
do they eat job?
I don't know if it hold my fingers up in the view, but it's about that big. It's if it were on your nose, it would cover your nose pretty well.
Does it eat Japanese knotweed?
Unfortunately, I don't think so.
I think it kills trees that we don't want killed.
Yeah.
To the chair.
Yes, Ed.
I just want everybody to know that a couple weeks ago at the Sudbury River cleanup, that our fabulous Judy Day and her husband Chris were there helping out. So we all owe her a thank you.
Thanks, Judy.
Thank you, hubby.
No problem.
Thank you.
And I am working with Carrie on getting those wattles taken out. I think we're going to meet up there to look at them. So we stumbled across some wattles. It was a little awkward. Oh, and we do have a new member as of today. They were appointed by the select board. So as soon as they get sworn in, should be able to start joining meetings. So
can you disclose?
Yeah, it's public information.
Yep, Walter Garland.
Yep.
Cool. Welcome, Walter.
Yeah, we're gonna work on getting him
Not here yet,
set up.
Oh, it's great. Halfway there. Halfway. All right, that's been enough. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I will make that motion happily.
I'll second it.
All in favor, Ed?
Aye.
Ted?
That is an aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. All right, thanks,
Have
everybody.
a great night, everybody. Thank you for everything.
Good night, everybody.
All right, everybody. It's a late one.